Good afternoon, students. So, we will be discussing and concluding on the topic of exemptions today. So, we understood three types of major exemptions in the last session. One is charitable trusts, second is in terms of educational services, and third one on the agricultural services. Today, we will continue from where we left. We will discuss the other exemptions and there are multiple exemptions. We will touch upon the important ones, and my presentation will be uploaded. So you can go through for the rest of the presentations and the MCQs because I have prepared MCQs also. But due to paucity of time, we may not be able to take up today. So what we'll do is we'll discuss the concepts in depth, in detail. These exemptions are very important and it is very lengthier. So once you start reading it by yourself, you may find it difficult to grasp it. So what I've done is I have written my handwritten notes on the important exemptions, which will definitely be helpful for you. Okay. Yeah. Question, sir. If the with land, farm building is provided for residential purposes for the cultivator, still it is exempted because residential house is also exempted, and the land and the farm it says that any structure incidental thereto, right? So it will still be exempted. Please upload the exemption charts on portal. Yes, I will do that today after the class, so it will be available to you. Okay. So, since we have a lot of exemptions to cover, we may not kind of take a break today. But at the end of the session, when Swati madam comes over and takes the session, that time you may get a break. So we'll have a continuous session from 2:30 to around 4 o'clock. Okay. So please be prepared for it. Okay. So last week we covered those exemptions. So we'll start from the exemptions which we have to do from this session, which is education is over, healthcare, right? We have to do the healthcare exemption services. Yep. So healthcare is where any services when you go to a doctor and the doctor gives you treatment. So it is exempted. Now, does it mean the medicines also will be exempted? No, medicines are not exempted because healthcare services is exempt. Pharmaceutical products, syringes, injections, the medicines, those are all taxable because they are all goods and the rate may be less, but there is no exemption for that. Okay. Then after you go to the doctor, he will write you a medicine that is taxable. He will write you some tests. Now, whether that tests are exempted, yes, those tests are exempted. So when you come through the healthcare, you'll see that healthcare service is exempted, the goods are taxable, and again the testing charges, those are all exempted. So how do we understand this? We will first try to understand healthcare in terms of zooming the main services. Healthcare services are services by way of healthcare services by a clinical establishment, a authorized medical. Okay, so once I do this, then it goes. Okay. Healthcare services means, first of all, the understanding of healthcare. Healthcare service is being defined in the law. Healthcare services means any services by way of diagnostic, treatment, or care of illness, injury, deformity, abnormality, or pregnancy. So, any service which is provided by any person, okay, by way of diagnostic services, that is when you go to a hospital saying that I have a headache. So, he will provide treatment for it. But if you are feeling unwell, you're feeling like vomiting, you have not yet had the any kind of illness, but you are feeling something, right? For that, he will do a diagnostic. So that is also covered. So diagnostic, treatment or care of what? Of any kind of illness, injury, deformity, abnormality, or pregnancy in any recognized system of medicine is a healthcare service. Now, which is that recognized system of medicine? Allopathy. So it should be not any kind of medicine, it should be a recognized system of medicine under the Indian Medical Association. So these are the ones which are recognized by medical association. First is allopathy, that is whatever doctor gives you the treatment, he writes a medicine to you. That is all called English medicine. That is also popularly in the right term, it is called as allopathy. So any allopathy, yoga, naturopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, and Unani. Only these systems of medicines are recognized system of medicine, and any treatment you receive from a doctor who is a, say, homeopathic doctor or a yoga doctor, right? Their treatments are exempted, which means what? You have other system also, which is Reiki, acupressure, Chinese medicines. These are not recognized system. So they can be operated in India, but when they do such services, say if you have a Reiki clinic and you get some treatment there done there, that will be taxable because it is not a recognized system of medicine. What is Siddha and Unani? Siddha and Unani are kind of very traditional practices, similar to Ayurveda, but little different from Ayurveda because Ayurveda also gives medicine. Siddha and Unani, they don't give medicines. They do treatment by putting some traction or putting some force on such body parts where there is a pain. So they are all specialized treatment which are available in very few remote places in India. So that treatment is also a recognized system of medicines. Okay. So healthcare by these are exempted, and any kind of transportation of passengers to and from clinical establishment. That is when you use an ambulance to transport the passengers, that is the patients, that is also exempted. But it does not include hair transplant and cosmetic or plastic surgery, which means that you don't have hair, you want to grow your hair, so you're doing a hair transplantation. That is not that, even though a doctor does it, but that is more of a cosmetic in nature. So, hair transplant is not a healthcare service. Cosmetic and plastic surgery also is not a healthcare services, but it says that if it is for beautification, yes, it is taxable. But if it is for restoration or restructuring of any anatomy or functions of a body, then it is permitted, because when you have met with the accident and your face has become ruptured so much that you have to do a plastic surgery, otherwise it will cause problem to the other body parts. Say that your eyes may get infected if that swelling is not reduced. So the doctor is suggesting a plastic surgery. So there is a defect or abnormality or injury or a trauma, then it is exempted. Okay. Then it is exempted where it is only for this purpose. But if some film star or say some celebrities want to just change the shape of their nose, want to change the shape of their eyes, so they go to a doctor and get a plastic surgery done or a cosmetic surgery done, that is taxable. Okay. Sir, only recognized is exempt. Other than that, no. Correct. So only recognized system of medicine is exempted. Others are not exempted. Got it? So plastic surgery, we understood if it is for beautification, it is taxable. But if it is to rectify some defect, abnormality, or injury, then it is exempted. Then services by way of healthcare service by. So we understood definition of healthcare. Now this healthcare can be provided by whom? It can be provided by a clinical establishment, which is a hospital, nursing home, labs, or diagnostics. So when a doctor writes a slip saying that you have to do a blood test done, you have to get an X-ray done, that we go to the lab. So any diagnostic and investigation, that is also exempted because it is covered under the clinical establishment definition. It should be provided by a authorized medical practitioner, that is individual doctors, which is registered with any council of recognized system of medicine. Like for Ayurveda, they will go to a Ayurvedic Medicine Center, Ayush. For allopathy, they will go to the Indian Medical Council. So any of those persons should be registered with these councils. Like how to become a chartered accountant, you have some auditors, you have some chartered accountants. But to get recognized as a chartered accountant, you have to write the CA exam and get the certificate from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Similarly, for the medical practitioners, they have a medical body. From that, they have to get the certificate. Only then they are called as authorized medical practitioner. So any service by a doctor is also exempted, and any services by the hospital where doctors come and provide their services, both are exempted. Medical professional having requisite qualification. Now, when you have an injury, after having the injury, doctor says you have to have a continuous physiotherapy done for 1 month. Now, that physiotherapist will charge something. Every day will charge 500 rupees for doing some exercise for you, right? He will help you to do the exercise and get you to the normal position. So they are called as paramedics. They are trained healthcare professionals, which is physiotherapists, the nursing staff. When you stay in a hospital, you need a nurse to serve you. So the nursing staff are a technicians, various technicians like X-ray operator technicians. There are other technicians also. So such activities of this paramedics, they are not doctors, but they assist the doctors in healing the patients, right? Take care of the patients. So the activity of paramedics is also exempted. Okay. So clinical establishment, authorized medical practitioner, and paramedics, all of this is exempted. Ambulance to transportation of patients, this is also exempt. And now we know that very important, this point, that is on the rent. So what they say is, earlier it was fully exempted, but after some point of time, they realized that hospitals are charging some huge amount. So we should collect some GST on this. So they came up with a position saying that if your room rent is more than 5,000 rupees per day, then it will become taxable. You generally stay in a room, and if you're paying some minimal charges, right? What is the minimal charges? From one place, it may be where minimum is 200, in other place, minimal may be 2,000 rupees. So they've set a cap saying that if the room rent charges is 5,000 rupees per day or above, if it is more than 5,000, then full it is taxable. So if a hospital is charging 5,500, then will you pay tax on 500 or 5,500? 5,500. Meera Kumari, only on 500 extra? No. It is on the whole value of 5,000 rupees itself. 5,500, sorry. So if a hospital is charging any amount for the room rent more than 5,000, the whole thing will be taxable. Okay. But if you're staying in a ICU, which is a intensive care unit or critical care unit or a ICCU or NICU, these are all special rooms which are there to take care of the patients. So if the NICU charges 5,000 or 6,000 rupees, that is fine, because NICU and ICU, the charges itself is high. So for this 5,000, you have to only consider the room rent nearby. Okay. So the room rent should be more than 5,000. ICU and NICU, they can charge anything, no problem, because they are all specially designed to take care of the patients. That's why that special ICU, NICU, or any critical unit rooms is not to be considered. The normal room rent, if it is more than 5,000, then it is taxable. Okay. And it also covers under healthcare. This is clear, healthcare for the human beings. But if the healthcare for the animals, which is done by a veterinary clinic, so services by veterinary clinic in relation to healthcare of animals and birds, that is also exempted. Then there were these two exemptions, which is I have striked off, which means that they were there before. Now it is taxable. What were they? Earlier, even now, when you have any kind of a waste products, like you have used a syringe, now you have to throw it. Can the hospitals throw it in the normal dustbin? No, they cannot do. They're using cottons in which there are blood stains. So they cannot throw it in a normal dustbin. They need to have a management system where they can recycle it. So it should not get infected, right? So various things what they're using, they have a separate facility called as biomedical waste treatment. So if the hospital has it in-house, fine. Others, what they do is they have a separate agency or called as biomedical waste treatment agencies. They will take all of this and discard it in the way where the law says it to discard. So they are called as operator of biomedical waste treatment. So such people, what they used to do, saying that, okay, monthly you pay us 5,000 rupees, we will collect all your waste and recycle it. So they were also exempted. Now they are taxable. So when a hospital takes the services of a biomedical waste treatment facility, the biomedical waste treatment facility fellow will charge GST and the hospital has to bear it. Okay. And we also had cord blood banks, wherein when a new child is born, from the umbilical cord, they will take the blood and store it. Now, those storage was also exempted. Now, that is also taxable. So, preservation of stem cells and other ancillary services will be now taxable. Okay. So, we understood healthcare, we understood the definition. Now, we will see the circular which gives some clarification. Room rent, right? We are going to a doctor and then we are paying room rent also. Now, room rent is the main service or the medical is the main service? Medical is the main service, correct? So, since medical is the main service, room rent is ancillary to it. So, the main objective of going to the hospital is to take the treatment. So, any room rent charge is also exempted itself. So, room rent to inpatients is for the stay in hospitalization. So, it is exempted. Now, these doctors, they generally are not employees of the, so that 5,000 limit is not there. 5,000 limit is there. Anubhav, if you see that, I had mentioned, no, that 5,000 limit is still there. That will continue. But if the room rent is more than 5,000, up to 5,000, it's exempted. Above 5,000, it will be taxable. Correct. Now, these hospitals may not have in-house doctors. Doctors are coming on a consultation basis, and doctor will provide all his treatment. At the end of the month, the hospital will tell so many patients you have treated, so you raise your invoice. Now, this doctor, when he raises invoice to the hospital, this is also exempted because in case of clinical establishment, in case of healthcare services, they have said hospitals and authorized medical practitioners, they are also exempted. So the doctor fees, when they charge directly to the patient, is also exempted. When they charge to the hospital, then also it is exempted. So 5,000 limit will apply to room rent for inpatients too. Correct. So it will apply to inpatients only, no? Because if it's an outpatient, then they will not charge anything. Only if there is an inpatient, for them they will charge the room rent. So up to 5,000 rupees, it is exempted. Impatient, no, only patient, because okay, saying that if there's a room wherein a patient also stays and somebody else also stays, so somebody else is staying there because there is a patient, correct? So it will include a consolidated thing. You don't have to bifurcate it. Amount charged by hospitals, including retention money and fees to doctors, that is also exempted. Amount charged by hospitals, including retention monies and fees to doctors. So any fees what they pay to doctors, that is also exempted. Food for inpatients. Inpatients means a person who is staying in the hospital. He is called an inpatient. Now you may go to a hospital for your removal of tooth. He will send you in 2 hours time. So then you're not an inpatient. Correct? So you don't have to take a room rent. You don't have to get food from the hospital. So when you are staying there for say a longer treatment, then you are called as a inpatient. Inpatient means who is staying as a patient in the hospital. He is called as inpatient. But some we go to a hospital, show our problems, say I have a problem in my eyes, he will test it and send it back. He is also a doctor, but I'm not staying there, so I'm a outpatient. Okay, so that is the meaning of inpatient and outpatients. So any food provided to inpatients, is he going and staying there to have food? No, he's going for the treatment, but ancillarily, that food of the hospital only has to be had. So for that, if some charges is levied, that is also exempted, right? Outdoor caterer provides service to the hospital. That is, a caterer is there, he's providing food to the hospital, hospital is providing to the patients. So this caterer will be exempted? No, because services by a clinical establishment is exempted. Services to a clinical establishment is taxable. Then food for unadmitted patients. Inpatient तो है ही है. Now I've gone and stayed there along with another patient. I like the food, so I said, okay, get me an extra food. So they got extra food and charged me 100 rupees. On that, GST will be exempted or no? The circular says that, and it is rightly also said that for anybody who is inpatient, for them it is okay because they are taking treatment, it is exempted. But for outpatient or for any visitors who are unadmitted, that will be taxable. Then food to visitors and attenders are also taxable. Any services other than healthcare, because hospitals have huge rooms or they have huge conference rooms or they have a auditorium, they are giving it on rent to outsiders also, right? That is not a healthcare service, it is taxable. Then any display of advertisement, pharma companies say that okay, there are so many patients, put a big stand of my name and the medicines what I supply, you just put it there, that is also taxable because it is not a healthcare service. And then abnormality or ailment of infertility, we have a further note on that we'll discuss. So these are all exempted. Who will pay the GST here, sir? In which case, Somya? So if I am say a person who is providing food to the hospital, right? Then who is the supplier? The caterer is the supplier. The caterer will charge GST to the hospital and hospital will pay the GST to the caterer. Ultimately, payment to the government will happen by whom? It will happen by the service provider itself. Okay. Okay. This is the healthcare service definition. Cord blood bank was earlier exempted, now it's taxable. Rehabilitation professionals, we know that we have covered under the um, first exemption itself. Now, healthcare services, there's a clarification. It says that GST on services in the form of assistive reproductive technology in vitro fertilization, which is also famously called as IVF. So, IVF is like not treatment of any kind of a problem. It's not a treatment as such. It is a procedure wherein a person who is not able to conceive a child, they help him conceive through this IVF technology. So that has been clarified. That was in question of various people because there are specialized hospitals who do only IVF. The department said that you have to pay GST. That's when the circular came in and saying that any kind of IVF or ART system is the infertility itself is a problem. So they are treating it. So they will be treated under the healthcare service and they can claim the exemption. So it is clarified that services by IVF are also covered under the definition of healthcare services for the purpose of the healthcare exemption notification. Okay. So that is all on the healthcare services. Please re-explain point number 3. Which point number 3, Chauhan? No RCM, Rajveer. Hospital is not covered under RCM. We have seen the RCM services, right? Was there anything on the hospital paying RCM? Nothing was there. So supplier only has to pay. Okay, clarification point number 3. This one, right? Amount charged by hospital, including retention money and fees to doctors. Okay, when you go to a hospital will give a fee bill saying that this is the fees for the doctors, this is the hospital charges. So even if they bifurcate, they're saying that once they collect any amount for providing the healthcare, they will reimburse to the doctor. They collect it separately. That is also exempted. Okay, Asna on healthcare service on education services, they are providing state and central board education boards like NBE is prescribes courses and circulars for PG medical students, holds examination, grants degree. is exempt or only on providing services related to examination. So there is a circular which says that they are also exempted. I'll show you that. Services of affiliation provided by the central government. So affiliation services will be exempted. But if the central or state education provides any kinds of circulars and circular for PG medical studies and hold examination and grant degree, so only the examination part will be exempted. IVF is also exempted. Yes, IVF is also exempted. Food to inpatients, yes, it's a composite supply, so that's why it will become exempted. Clear? So now let's go to the next exemption, which is on government services. This is very complicated, but you need to understand it very popular in a nice manner so you can understand. Affiliation service, that was what we had discussed in the last class, Anubhav. Somebody had asked a query, so I had taken that slide back. So it was not related to healthcare, it was related to education services. Okay. Government services. Will government service be exempted? Not all government services. So any service which is service provider who is providing pure labor services. Okay. Pure services. They are not doing any goods or any, so that will be exempted. That is, if a government needs some employees. Okay. And they're taking some employees from a consultant who's providing labor consultant who's providing employees on need basis. Say they're providing employees for 2 month basis. Then they are a person who are providing pure services. So it will be exempted. So whenever any person provides only pure services or composite service, wherein the goods portion is only 25%. Okay, excluding WC. What is WC? WC means works contract. So if you're providing any composite services, okay, up to 25% where the goods are there. That is, if you are a service provider who has a combination of goods and services and the portion of goods is only less than 25%, right? Suppose you have to do the government has some air conditioners, you want to repair it. So when you go and do the repairing, some parts also you have to fit in. Now the value of the parts is very less. How much less? Just say 20%. So since the major portion is labor part or the services part, that will also be exempted because up to for a composite supply where the value of the goods is up to 25,000 rupees is just 25%, not 25,000, up to 25% of the total value, then that will also be exempted, right? And you're providing services to whom? Not only government services, you're providing any services to a government agency or government enterprise. Okay. Government authority or government enterprise. That also, if they're taking any pure services, it will be exempted. And any services from one government to another government, that is also exempted. So if you see the chart, first is exemption when the supplier is providing any service to the government. Second is when one government authority provides services to another government authority, then that is also exempted. Okay. So goods and services which aren't taxable under CGST and IGST will be charged by state or no? So first it has to be taxable. Only then it can be charged by the state. So in your example, if you're saying that if there are any goods or services which aren't taxable, then it will not be charged by the state also. Okay. Now, so from one government entity to another government also exempted. And if you're providing any pure services to the government, then also it is exempted or goods up to 25%. So for a government, there are various exemptions. Before exemptions, there is a exclusion from the definition itself. If you see section 7(2)(b), Any services where the authority is providing service as a public authority is not a supply, right? So any services when they're providing as a public authority is not a supply, which means that any activities under 243G or 243W. What is this 243G or 243W? These are the articles in the Constitution when you are providing any services in the nature of a 243G, which is when you're providing services in your capacity as a panchayat services. Okay, when you're doing any panchayat services, it is exempted. Then Article 243W, which is any municipality services. Okay, any municipality services where the local municipality does, that is also exempted. So इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, जो पंचायत काम करती है, जो लोकल, जैसे बैंगलोर में बीबीएमपी है, ओके, महानगरा पालिका जो है वो हर स्टेट में रहती है, उनके सर्विसेज जो भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं वो एग्जेम्प्ट रहेंगे. सो एक्टिविटीज अंडर 243G एंड डब्ल्यू इज एग्जेम्प्टेड. सप्लाई ऑफ अल्कोहलिक लिकर लाइसेंस इज ऑल्सो नो जीएसटी. क्यों? क्योंकि अल्कोहलिक तो एग्जेम्प्टेड है, करेक्ट, लेकिन जो मैं लाइसेंस देता हूं दैट इज नॉट अ अल्कोहलिक लिकर, तो उसके ऊपर टैक्स लगना चाहिए, वॉज द कंटेंशन ऑफ सम जीएसटी ऑफिसर्स. देन द बोर्ड सेड दैट नहीं बाबा, supply of alcohol is also exempted outside the GST, और supply of alcoholic liquor license जो गवर्नमेंट लाइसेंस देती है, ठीक है, that is also exempted. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, इसमें इतना बड़ा स्क्रैच क्यों आया है? क्योंकि डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पोस्ट पहले एग्जेम्प्टेड था, लेकिन अभी डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पोस्ट पूरा टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. ओनली फ्यू एग्जेम्पशंस विल बी देयर, दैट वी विल सी, बट मेजरली एनी पोस्टल सर्विसेज व्हेन यू टेक, स्टैम्प पेपर लेते हो आप, पोस्ट वाले का स्पीड पोस्ट अगला जब आप करते हो, दे आर ऑल टैक्सेबल. अर्लियर एग्जेम्पशन था, लेकिन अभी टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. देन नेक्स्ट इज एनी काइंड ऑफ पोर्ट और एयरपोर्ट सर्विसेज. जब आप एयरपोर्ट में जाते हो, एयर टिकट में आपको कुछ क्यूट चार्जेस लगता है, दैट इज द चार्जेस फॉर द मेंटेनेंस ऑफ एयरपोर्ट. सो एयरपोर्ट कौन ओन करता है? मेजरली इट इज ऑल ओन्ड बाय एयरपोर्ट अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया. जब एयरपोर्ट अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया कुछ सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है टू फॉर एनी, जैसे एक फ्लाइट आई है, वहां पे पार्क कर दिया उन्होंने, अगली फ्लाइट है 24 घंटे बाद, तो दे विल पार्क इट देयर, तो उसके लिए जो भी चार्जेस लगेंगे उसके ऊपर जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा. हु विल चार्ज? द गवर्नमेंट देमसेल्फ विल चार्ज अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज मैकेनिज्म like air traffic control, flight hauling, rent from stores, whatever is this, on that GST will be chargeable. Banipreet, in the first chapter, we have read that what will be if there is no GST, then who will charge? It depends on the products, right? Like alcoholic liquor, tobacco, and those things. Each person will be different. Alcoholic liquor license pe to central government and state government both will charge. On petroleum products also both will charge. Some will charge excise duty, some will charge VAT. So you will go through that first slide of our first day's presentation, you will get it. Even alcoholic liquor is for industry activity, then it will be taxable. If the alcoholic is for human consumption, only then it is exempted. Liquor and liquor license will be considered difference? Yes, क्योंकि first तो आप liquor license one time ही लोगे. Once you have the license, then you don't have to go to the authorities because it's a pass kind of a thing which is given to you saying that you can operate your business. So that is called as liquor license, that is exempted. And liquor is the actual liquor which per people drink, that is also outside the scope of GST. All airport services exempted? नहीं, airport services are taxable. जहां पे भी मैंने GST लिखा है एंड आई मेंशन FCM और RCM, इसका मतलब वो टैक्सेबल है. जैसे फर्स्ट वाले में कुछ नहीं लिखा तो इट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड, लेकिन यहाँ पे लिख रहा हूं मैं दैट इट इज GST under forward charge mechanism, which means it is taxable. Means if given license for alcohol use for industrial purpose, taxable. Correct. Because industrial purpose तो taxable है ही. Only human consumption is outside the scope of GST. Transportation services. Okay. So government में क्या क्या मिला है हमको? First supply or under section 7(2)(b), फिर port or airport services. Then third is transportation of passengers. If the government has its own vehicle, right? And they're providing transportation. Then सब्जेक्ट टू ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एग्जेम्पशंस, हम जब नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में जाएंगे तब वहां पे कुछ एग्जेम्पशन है, उसके अलावा सब कुछ टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. नाउ गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो प्रोवाइड्स रेंटिंग ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी. गवर्नमेंट की बहुत सारी प्लॉट्स रहती हैं, जैसे बस स्टॉप्स वगैरह, वहां पे वो छोटे छोटे शॉप्स रेंट करते हैं. ठीक है? उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा. इफ इट इज अ रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, देन the registered person has to pay under RCM. If it is an unregistered person, then the government has to pay on that. So only for renting, government pays it. बाकी सब के ऊपर हमको रिवर्स चार्ज पे करना पड़ेगा. Okay. Only when if the government is providing that rental to a unregistered person, क्योंकि अगर registered person है उसे तो रिवर्स चार्ज पे करना ही पड़ेगा, लेकिन अगर वो अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है तो फॉरवर्ड चार्ज पे गवर्नमेंट जीएसटी चार्ज करेगी. Yes, yes, airport owned by government, but the airport which is owned, that is a different department called as Airport Authority of India, right? So they are different and the GST department are different. So they have said that it will be taxable. Yes, Priyanshi, don't worry, सभी charts में upload कर दूंगा. Every chart will be updated. Then other services, when these specific services are not there and कुछ और services हैं, अगर वो किसी business entity को provide करते हैं, then it will be liable to GST under RCM. लेकिन उसमें भी कुछ exemption है. When it is provided to a business entity, लेकिन business entity का turnover registration limit से कम है, तब भी exempt हो जाएगा. This is what? This is all other than रेंटिंग ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, क्योंकि रेंटिंग ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी में तो टैक्स लगेगा, इधर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज या फिर रिवर्स चार्ज. ठीक है. अदर देन दीज अदर सर्विसेज, इफ यू आर अ बिजनेस एंटिटी एंड योर टर्नओवर इज बिलो द थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट, then it is exempted. But if your annual turnover is more than the threshold limit, then if it's a non-government entity, you have to check if the consideration is more than 5,000 or less than 5,000. If it is less than 5,000, फिर एक और exemption. सो कितना सारा एग्जेम्पशन मिल जाएगा. फर्स्ट इज यू हैव टू सी वेदर योर टर्नओवर इज बिलो द लिमिट, तो फिर आपको कुछ लगेगा ही नहीं. और फिर आप देखोगे कि आपका टर्नओवर मोर देन द रजिस्ट्रेशन लिमिट है, फिर यू हैव टू चेक वेदर द वैल्यू ऑफ सर्विस फ्रॉम ईच government entity is less than 5,000 or more than 5,000. If it is less than 5,000, then it will be exempted. If it is more than 5,000, then it will be taxable. ठीक है. And if your annual turnover you're providing to from one government to another government, then it will be exempted. Then there are specifically exempted or special services which will be exempted, which is Chauhan Prakash Bhai, yes, on renting. When we come to the renting part, that is on residential renting, we will discuss what is the new thing under that also. Special services, guaranteeing loans to government undertakings or public sector undertaking. A government or a public sector undertaking wants a loan. So the banker is saying, since you are a government entity, why don't you get a guarantee from the government? So they say, okay, I can get it. So they will get it. And then what will happen? It will be exempted. Okay, that will be exempted. But these special services are exempted? Yes, these special services are exempted. So special services, the reference I shown in the right side, they're exempted, but I'm describing it in detail here. So when a government, the central government gives a guarantee to a public sector undertaking or a government undertaking, and they're charging something to give this guarantee, that is also exempted. Registration services required under any law. You have to take registration. So you will go to the government and say FSSAI registration. They will collect some registration fees. Now that is also exempted. Then any testing, calibration, or certification services. So for any goods, they have specified labs or some testing centers wherein you have to check, do the testing there. You have to do the calibrations, which is for any weighing scale. Over a period of time when you use, your calibration get changed. So you have to get it certified. You have to go to the legal metrology department. So that calibration, they will certify every year saying that yes, your weighing scale is correct. Because otherwise, what happens? Your weighing scale is not correct. You will sell something saying that 1 kg, but the customer will get only 800 grams. So इसीलिए तो calibration test for any weighing scale has to be done. So that calibration, testing and certification charges, all of this is also exempted. ये सब exempted का ही बोल रहा हूं मैं. Then passport के लिए passport charges, visa, driving license, birth or death certificate, all of that is also exempted. Then tolerating non-performance of a contract. If the government से आपके पास contract है और government ने आपका, आपने government का काम time पे नहीं किया और गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ पेनाल्टी और फाइन्स चढ़ा दिए आपके ऊपर, राइट, दे हैव लेविड एनी फाइन्स एंड लिक्विडेटेड damages, that is also exempted. Then assignment of a right to use natural resources. So any assignment of a right to use the natural resource, the individual farmer, उसके पास जगह है, उसने कुछ दे दिया आपको कि यहाँ पे कोयला है, उसको खोद दो. So any assignment of a right which the government gives to any person, that is also exempted. To only individual farmer, sorry, not to everyone. Assignment of right to use natural resources only to an individual farmer is exempted. अगर वो किसी कंपनी को देते हैं तो फिर कंपनी को जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा. Deputing officers after office hours, ठीक है, पुलिस है, एक्साइज डिपार्टमेंट है, उनको कुछ सहायता चाहिए एंड दे से दैट वी विल डेप्यूट आवर पर्संस आफ्टर ऑफिस आवर्स, यू हैव टू पे अस 1000 rupees per hour. That is also exempted. So deputing officer after office hours is also exempted. Excess royalty collection contractor is also exempted. Service of rehabilitation professionals, ये हमने exemption में पढ़ा था ना, on charitable organization. So any service of rehabilitation professionals to rehabilitation center which is run by a government or an old age home where the consideration is up to 25,000 rupees per day, then it is exempted. Okay, provided the consideration for that old age home is not too high. It should be up to 25,000 rupees per month, then it will become exempted. Calibration is weight of good. Calibration is measurement of the weighing machine. Okay, so one weighing machine, you have seen the old weighing machines, right? Or even the digital ones, they will test it. They will test if the calibration test is correct. Otherwise, they will do a setting and make it correct. That is called as calibration. That farmer point, yes. So when you have a land and you're giving something to a individual farmer, I will just read out what is the exact term here. Assignment of a right to use natural resources to an individual farmer for cultivation of plants and rearing of all life forms, animals is exempted. So when the state government assigns some right to an individual farmer, only then it is exempted. 5,000 point, please explain again which 5,000 wala. One is on healthcare, one is on this government. So you're talking about the government, right? Yes. So if you are a non-government entity, you have to pay under reverse charge, correct? बट इफ द वैल्यू, सपोज आपने गवर्नमेंट से कुछ सर्विस लिया है एंड यू आर अ रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, आपका लिमिट क्रॉस हो गया है, ठीक है, तो भी आपको एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा इफ द वैल्यू ऑफ द सर्विस व्हाट द गवर्नमेंट इज प्रोवाइडेड इज अ स्मॉल सर्विस, जिसके ऊपर वो सिर्फ 5,000 चार्ज कर रहे हैं, तो आपको रिवर्स चार्ज भी पे करने की जरूरत नहीं है। क्लियर ऑन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज? इंपॉर्टेंट वाला एक बार मैं फिर से समझा देता हूँ। नो, सर्विस ऑफ पोस्ट, पोस्ट इज टैक्सेबल, लेकिन उन्होंने थोड़ा एग्जेम्पशन दे दिया। Service provided by one government entity to another government entity is exempted, and service received in form of any grants, government किसी को grant देती है, that is also exempted. हाँ, सर्विस बाय डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पोस्ट वी सेड इट इज टैक्सेबल, अर्लियर एग्जेम्प्टेड था, उसको स्ट्राइक ऑफ कर दिया एंड एवरीथिंग इज टैक्सेबल, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा एक्सेप्ट फॉर द फॉलोइंग विच इज पोस्ट कार्ड, इनलैंड कार्ड, बुक पोस्ट एंड ऑर्डिनरी पोस्ट। ये आपने कभी देखा है? In our times, we used to see, we in US, there was no telephone system and there were no mobile system. We used to write postcards, right? So such postcards, inland letter, any kind of magazines which you get on, that's a book post, or any ordinary post wherein the weighing of that an ordinary post is less than 10 grams. So they will be exempted. Other than that, everything will be taxable. So only postcard, inland letter, book post, and ordinary post are exempted. Then this one, tolerating non-performance of act, issuance of passport, we know. Services provided by the central government, state government, union territory administration under any training program. If the government is conducting any training program for which 75% of the more expenditure is borne by the central government, state government, or union territory, then that will be exempted. Which means if there is some training center for which you are providing training and 75% of that is borne by the central government, then that training will be exempted. Old age home point, any person, which is any government who is running a old age home and they are collecting consideration of up to 25,000 rupees. ठीक है, 20,000, 21,000, 18,000, which is all below 25,000 rupees. If they are collecting anything up to that amount from that old age person who is staying there, then that is exempted. अगर वो 26,000 लेते हैं, then on that whole 26,000 they have to pay GST. Got it? Assignment of natural resource, fine, this we have seen. Then this is whatever I've highlighted in bold. That is all the amendments which you have to specifically read. Service provided to a government authority by way of water supply, public health, sanitary conservancy, solid waste management, and some improvement. So what we understood till now is any services provided by the government to the general public is taxable. But in this is a very special exemption which says that any service provided by a service provided to a government authority. That is, when a supplier is charging some amount to the government, then he can claim this exemption for what? For only specific services, water supply. Now, government ke paas, they don't have water, they engage the agency to do water supply. So this agency who does the water supply, they will provide some invoice, but on that they will not charge GST because it is exempted by this. So service provided to a government authority by way of water supply, any kind of public health, any kind of sanitary conservancy and waste management and slum improvement and upgradation activity, all of this will be exempted. Then मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रेलवेज, रेलवेज इज ऑल्सो टैक्सेबल, जैसे पोस्टल डिपार्टमेंट टैक्सेबल है, रेलवे डिपार्टमेंट जो टिकट लेते हैं वो भी टैक्सेबल है, एक्सेप्ट द फॉलोइंग: सेल ऑफ प्लेटफॉर्म टिकट्स, जब आप प्लेटफॉर्म में किसी को छोड़ने जाते हो, यू टेक अ प्लेटफॉर्म टिकट, that platform ticket will be exempted. Facility of retiring homes or waiting rooms, right? When we go to railway station, we see that there are some waiting rooms. They are all taxable. Any clock room, आपको कुछ store करना है आपके goods, you will store it in a clock room. So that clock room is exempted. And battery operated car, correct? We have seen this when we have to go from one platform to another platform. There are battery operated cars. They are also exempted. Fine. And service from one unit division of railways to another, that is also exempted. Railway is a government undertaking. Yes, it is a government undertaking, लेकिन उनके services सब taxable रहते हैं. If railway department provides residential accommodation, that will be taxable because it's a residential accommodation. If it is for pure residential purpose, then it will be exempted. Otherwise, it will become taxable. Next is construction services. Under RCM, ASA nahi. So if the railway is providing residential accommodation to a registered person, we'll go to residential accommodation, then you'll get it. But if a residential accommodation is provided to a registered person, then the registered person has to pay under reverse charge. But if a residential accommodation is provided to an unregistered person, then there is no GST because on residential accommodation, it is exempted. Only when you provide residential accommodation to a registered person, then it becomes taxable. Services provided by way of pure labor contracts. Now we are getting into construction services. So any kind of services provided by a person by way of pure labor contracts. It is a construction service. So that will be exempted. What all services will be exempted? Any kind of construction, erection, commissioning, installation, completion, fitting out, repairs, maintenance, renovation, alteration, or any other works will be exempted if it is pertaining to beneficiary-led individual house construction or enhancement under Housing for All scheme or PMAY scheme, which is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So don't be happy that you're constructing a house and you'll get exemption. नहीं, आपको exemption नहीं मिलेगा. If you're doing a contractor is doing construction service under the PMAY house, or also popularly known as Housing for All schemes, only then it is exempted. ठीक है? Then any construction, erection, commissioning, installation of original works pertaining to a single residential unit. अगर आपकी single residential unit है, which is otherwise as a part of a residential complex, अगर आपके single residential unit के लिए आप कुछ construction करवाते हो, then it is exempted. But in case of an apartments, where hundreds of apartments are there, that is not a single residential unit, वहां पे taxable हो जाएगा. ठीक है? If you have your individual house, okay, individual land, and you're getting construction done, then it will be exempted. Then services supplied by any electricity distribution utilities by way of construction, erection, commissioning, installation of infrastructure for extending electricity distribution networks. Now, individual farmer has his farmland and there is a line which is laid by the electricity board. Okay, it's a very kind of a village or it's a town wherein it did not have electricity. Now government is coming with electricity distribution. Now if they distribute in the main line, but my farmer's farmland is very far, so the farmer is saying please extend your line, okay, to for my tube well, which is for his well he wants some electricity. So this extension, the electricity board says, no, our line is this. To get deviation, you have to pay us some consideration. Okay. So that consideration which a farmer pays to get his electricity for his tube well, that is exempted. So whatever charges the electricity distribution company charges, on that there will not be any GST. Fine. Now the important part, since we are discussing on construction, sale of TDR, FSI, or long-term lease or premium of land by a landowner to a developer. This we have discussed even before, right? That I have a TDR. Now, what will I do with this TDR? I will sell this TDR to a developer or a builder or any kind of a developer wherein I had my land. Now that land was acquired by the government, and government said we'll give you a compensation and we'll give you a TDR, which is transferable development right. You can use it for construction of any extra floors. So it is called as transferable development rights. You can transfer a right to develop one floor for which you will not need any permission. So generally landowners don't use it because they are not constructing a big building. A builder will need it. So they will sell this TDR to a builder. Our FSI also is similar thing, which is floor space index. That is also a kind of certificate which is given to a landowner. He will sell it to a builder. So when a TDR, FSI, or you give a long-term lease to a land or to a developer, that will be exempted. It will be exempted with the condition that to the developer whom you're selling, he should sell all of the flats before the issuance of completion certificate. I sold my TDR to the developer. Now, developer can be like, say, Prestige Properties. Now, Prestige Properties has bought it from me. They have given me consideration of 1 crore rupees. Okay, ho gaya exemption. But now the developer has to track from this TDR the building what he's constructing, whether all the flats in that construction is sold before getting the CC. What is CC? Completion certificate. क्योंकि आफ्टर कंप्लीशन सर्टिफिकेट वॉट एवर ही सेल्स उसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगता है. In case of construction or by a developer or by a builder, all the flats which are being sold during construction up till the date of receiving of the completion certificate are taxable. उसके बाद exempted हो जाता है because it becomes a immovable property. So if he sells all the flats before the completion certificate, then he can enjoy the exemption. But suppose I have given him the TDR, he gave me 1 crore rupees. Now उसमें उसको 100 फ्लैट्स कंस्ट्रक्ट करना था, लेकिन कंप्लीशन सर्टिफिकेट तक उसने सिर्फ 80 फ्लैट्स ही सेल किया है, 20 सेल नहीं हुए हैं. तो इसका मतलब क्या हो, जब भी वो 20 कंप्लीशन सर्टिफिकेट के बाद सेल करेगा उसके ऊपर उसको एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा. When he is not paying GST to the government, तो पहले जो एग्जेम्पशन मिला था ये विथड्रॉ हो जाएगा प्रोपोर्शनेटली. सो कितने फ्लैट्स थे उसमें? 100 फ्लैट्स. उसने बेच दिए 80, 20 अनसोल्ड है. सो टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ फ्लैट्स विच आर सोल्ड आफ्टर कंप्लीशन सर्टिफिकेट, विच मीन्स कंप्लीशन सर्टिफिकेट के बाद वो जो भी बेच रहा है उसके ऊपर उसको जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा. सपोज अपने केस में 20 फ्लैट्स है अनसोल्ड. ऑन 20 फ्लैट्स he will have to pay GST at the rate of 1% or 5%. So 1 crore उसने मुझे दिए थे. 1 crore was for 100 flats. 80 बिक गए तो 100 into 20 by 100. 1 crore into 20 by 100 which is 20 lakhs. 20 लाख के ऊपर उसको अगर वो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग है तो 1%, नॉर्मल हाउस है तो 5% जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा. क्लियर? See, I'm explaining fast, but I'm giving you the practical workings with the numbers. So you will understand this. Clear है यहाँ तक? Any doubts till construction services? Because now there are other small services itself. Yeah, you have one transfer. Okay. So since there are no questions, oh, there are some questions. So 1% and 5% ITC can be claimed? No. You have to charge 1% and 5%. ITC cannot be claimed. construction by developer after completion certificate is exempted. So construction after completion certificate, he will not do construction. He will do construction and he will start selling it. If he starts selling, it means his construction is complete. So any flats which he is selling after the completion certificate, it is exempted. Anything sold before completion certificate is taxable. Now you're clear, Dhanush? Completion certificate के पहले जो है taxable, after completion certificate it is exempted. तो जो भी उसने TDR लिया है और जो अनसोल्ड फ्लैट्स है उसका प्रोपोर्शनेट उसे टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा. So for 20 flats exempted, correct. 20 flats what he sells after the completion certificate, they are exempted. Since they are exempted or government will not get revenue, the 1 crore which was exempted earlier, no, on that proportionate GST has to be paid. That is on 20 lakhs. Correct. Because an 80 is already paid on 20 lakhs. Yes, pay the GST. Correct. 80 lakhs will be taxable. No, 80 lakhs will be exempted because 80 is his input, right? See, you have to understand this like a process or like a factory, how it is there. Factory में raw materials आते हैं, फिर output बनता है. So this TDR is like a raw material for construction of this 100 flats. When this raw material came, you have consumed it and you have sold something which is taxable. तो अगर पूरे 100 फ्लैट सेल हो जाते हैं, then fully it is tax paid. So this full 1 crore will be exempted. लेकिन क्या हुआ? Unfortunately, he has not sold all the 100 flats. He sold only 80 flats. तो 80 सेल हो गए, तो on that proportionate reversal जरूरी नहीं है. Only on the 20 which is not sold, on that he will reverse the ITC. So only on 20% he will reverse the ITC. 1% Ishan will be when it is a affordable housing, and 5% will be if it is non-affordable housing. Affordable housing is when a flat has 60 square meters of the carpet area and 45 lakhs as the consideration. That is called as a affordable housing. Okay. Now we'll go to the next exemption, which is transportation services. So transportation we have divided into two. One is transportation of passenger and transportation of goods. So first we'll deal with transportation of passengers. Transportation of passengers, when you do a travel, you can travel through four modes: air, aeroplane, road, railways, and waterways. So airport generally will be taxable because when you can afford for a flight price, then why should you not afford for GST? You can. So airways will be generally taxable. But if you are transporting from these specified places, which is called as from a city in West Bengal called Bagdogra, Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Assam, Nagaland, and Sikkim. इसको कैसे याद करेंगे? It's I mentioned the first terms and they can be remembered as Batmans. Batman stands for Bagdogra, A stands for Arunachal Pradesh, T stands for Tripura. ये तो बैट हो गया. मैंस को जो है थोड़ा मैंस को स्पेलिंग चेंज करना पड़ेगा. इंस्टेड ऑफ MANS, कॉल इट MMANS. मणिपुर, मेघालय, मिजोरम, आसाम, नागालैंड, सिक्किम. So these places, when a flight goes, then the government is saying that वहां पे आपको जीएसटी पे करने की जरूरत नहीं ऑन द फ्लाइट टिकट चार्जेस, बिकॉज दीज प्लेसेस नीड सम डेवलपमेंट। तो उसके लिए फ्लाइट चार्जेस जितना कम रहेगा उतने ट्रैवल ज्यादा होंगे। एंड दीज आर ऑल मोस्टली नॉर्थ ईस्ट स्टेट्स। नॉर्थ ईस्ट स्टेट्स पीपल ट्रैवल वेरी लेस बिकॉज देयर इज नो बिजनेस, they will only travel for tourism. So they have said from any kind of travel from or to, both from this place or landing at this port will be exempted. Direct, not indirect flights and all. When you are landing at any of these northeastern states, then it will be exempted. Or you're taking off from this states, then also it will be exempted. ठीक है, so that is in case of air. Another thing related to air is जैसे हम एयर कर रहे हैं तो एयर पूरा कवर करेंगे. The government gives some viability gap funding that any new airport comes in, they need some regional connectivity scheme जो गवर्नमेंट चलाती है, that if you have a new airport and you are connecting the regions which are remote, okay, so regional connectivity scheme में government will give some viability gap funding, and that will be exempted up to 3 years from the commencement of operation of that airport. Okay, so we saw that only batmans are exempted for landing and takeoff, but any new airports is coming up and government is giving gap viability gap funding, that will be exempt up to 3 years from the date of operation of that airport. Only in Bagdogra city exempted नहीं ना, पूरा है ना, पूरे बैटमैन्स में exempted. If you travel to all these places, not taxable. Correct. That's the only city. Yes, that's the only city. अरुणाचल प्रदेश त्रिपुरा ये सब क्या सिटी नहीं है क्या? सर वीजीएफ हिंदी में एक्सप्लेन वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग. ठीक है, जब नया कुछ एयरपोर्ट आता है तो उसको क्या है, सिर्फ पैसेंजर्स ज्यादा नहीं आते, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट को चाहिए कि नए एयरपोर्ट्स आए ताकि डेवलपमेंट हो. तो गवर्नमेंट क्या करती है, जब भी नए एयरपोर्ट आते हैं और उनका अगर रिकग्निशन मिलता है अंडर रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी स्कीम, तो गवर्नमेंट उनको फंडिंग देती है सालों साल. माइट बी फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 5 years और 6 years, समथिंग लाइक दैट. लेकिन फर्स्ट 3 साल तक जो गवर्नमेंट वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग देगी वो एग्जेम्प्टेड होगा. दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग, की अप टू 3 years फ्रॉम द कमेंसमेंट ऑफ द ऑपरेशन जो भी फंडिंग आपको मिलेंगे वो एग्जेम्प्टेड हो जाएंगे. बिकॉज इट्स नॉट अ ग्रांट. ग्रांट जो है उसके ऊपर आपको एग्जेम्पशन मिलता है, लेकिन गैप फंडिंग के लिए आपको एग्जेम्पशन नहीं मिलता है. इसीलिए यहाँ पे स्पेसिफिकली दिया गया है कि viability gap funding up to 3 years will be exempt. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज ऑन एयरपोर्ट का हो गया. अभी रोड पे ट्रैवल करते हैं. रोड पे जब हम ट्रैवल करते हैं तो फर्स्ट इज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज. जब भी आप बस वगैरह में जाते हो, अगर ये नॉन एसी है तो एग्जेम्प्टेड है. ई मतलब एग्जेम्प्टेड, टी मतलब टैक्सेबल. ये तो क्लियर है सबको? करेक्ट. अगर हम नॉन एसी बस में ट्रैवल करते हैं तब एग्जेम्प्टेड है. एसी बस में ट्रैवल करते हैं तो टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. और अगर रेडियो टैक्सी बोथ एसी एंड नॉन एसी है, टूरिज्म है, कंडक्टर टूर है, चार्टर और हायर ट्रांसफर है, जैसे कैब कैब की हो जाती है, कैब या मिनी बस, मेटाडोर वगैरह, अगर ये टूरिज्म के लिए है तो टैक्सेबल है. अगर टूर वगैरह के लिए है तब भी टैक्सेबल है. ठीक है. और When it is for a, that is called as contract carriage. That is when you take a vehicle for your contract, for your stoppage, for your travel. They are called as contract carriage. They are all taxable except non-AC. Non-AC will be exempted. Apart from that, everything will be taxable. Next is stage carriage. This is different from contract carriage, because in contract carriage you can start from any point and get down at any point. But in in stage carriage, it is like this local buses where they go on specified route, have specified stop, वो आपके लिए deviation नहीं लेंगे. Correct? So they are called as stage carriage. Stage carriage में अगर non AC है तो exempted है, अगर AC है तो taxable है. That is, example of this is, एक state से दूसरे state आप जाते हो, they are all interstate buses or local buses. They are all called as stage carriage. What is radio taxi? Radio taxi मतलब जहाँ पे मीटर रहता है, that is called as radio taxi, right? Like Uber, Ola, all of that, they are coming under the category of radio taxi. Now, what is exempted? ट्रैवल ऑन रोड में कुछ चीजें exempted है, which is metered cab. जैसे काली पीली, when you see in Bombay, black taxis are there. They are called as metered cabs, जहाँ पे मीटर से ही चलता है. जैसे ऑटो रिक्शा मीटर पे चलते हैं, वैसे टैक्सीज भी मीटर पे चलती है. They are called as metered cabs. So if it's a metered cab or a auto rickshaw or a e-rickshaw, these three are exempted. जब आप ओला में से बुक करते हो तब टैक्सेबल हो जाता है. क्यों? बिकॉज इफ देयर सेज दैट एनी नॉन एसी इज टैक्सेबल इज सप्लाइड थ्रू ई कॉमर्स एंड मीटर्ड कैब्स एंड ऑटो रिक्शास, तब भी टैक्सेबल हो जाएंगे. सो व्हेन यू डायरेक्टली कैच ऑटो, ऐसे हाथ पकड़ के हम बुलाते हैं ना ऑटो वालों को डायरेक्टली, दे आर एग्जेम्प्टेड. लेकिन इफ यू बुक दैट ऑटो थ्रू ओला और उबर, देन इट बिकम टैक्सेबल. ठीक है, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो नॉन एसी इज टैक्सेबल is if it is supplied through e-commerce, and metered cabs and auto rickshaws also, if it is supplied through e-commerce, that becomes taxable. ठीक है. रेलवेज. रेलवेज में क्या है? फर्स्ट मेन रेलवेज देखते हैं. जब हम आईआरसीटीसी इंडियन रेलवेज में ट्रैवल करते हैं, देन इफ इट इज अ नॉन एसी, देन इट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड. लेकिन अगर एसी है तो टैक्सेबल, और अगर फर्स्ट क्लास नॉन एसी, एसी में है तो टैक्सेबल नहीं है, अगर फर्स्ट क्लास नॉन एसी में ट्रैवल करते हो तब भी टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. ठीक है. सो जो आईआरसीटीसी, जो इंडियन रेलवेज में हम ट्रैवल करते हैं, फॉर नॉन एसी इट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड, एसी एंड फर्स्ट क्लास इज टैक्सेबल. देन मेट्रो. मेट्रो, मोनोरेल और ट्रामवे, ये एग्जेम्प्टेड है. सर मेट्रो में तो एसी है ना. हाँ, लेकिन मेट्रो को अभी बढ़ावा देना है, इसीलिए मेट्रो के चार्जेस के ऊपर जीएसटी अभी तक नहीं लग रहा है. मेट्रो, मोनोरेल और ट्रामवे विल बी एग्जेम्प्टेड. वाटर. वाटर में क्या आप करोगे? थ्रू वेजल यू विल ट्रैवल. इफ इट इज अ पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट, जैसे हम बस पकड़ते हैं, वैसे बच्चों को मैंने देखा है केरला में कि एक बोट में बैठ के, बड़ी सी बोट में बैठ के, उसे वेजल कहेंगे, बैठ के अपने घर से स्कूल जाते हैं, क्योंकि पानी में ही है. Like in Kerala and places where there are backwaters, there's no road. Everything is in the water itself, right? So when they're using that vehicle as a public transport, then it is exempted. If it is for tourism or any transportation outside India, then it will be taxable. Yes, Priyanshi, don't worry. This list is vast. Yes, exemptions are vast itself. You have to prepare yourself and understand this. So I've tried to concise it to the extent possible. Okay. So vessels, if it is for public transport, exempted. If it is for tourism or transportation outside India, then it is taxable. If it is outside India, place of supply में देखेंगे भैया कि how it gets taxed. Then inland waterways will be exempted. That is, if you are traveling in a river, that will be exempted. So inland waterways, even for transportation and public transport, both will be exempted. So आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि vessel only for public transport is exempt, लेकिन inland waterways is exempt for everybody. Now we'll go to transportation by goods. Transportation of passengers हो गया. Now we'll see transportation of goods. इन केस ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ गुड्स, वाटर एंड एयर पहले एग्जेम्प्टेड था, अभी वाटर एंड एयर, वॉट एवर यूर ट्रांसपोर्टिंग गुड्स विल बी टैक्सेबल. वाटर एंड एयर टैक्सेबल, सिर्फ रोड और रेल को देखना है. रेल में भी टैक्सेबल है. रोड में इफ इट इज कोरियर एजेंसी इट इज टैक्सेबल. इफ इट इज जीटीए, हमको पता है ना, जीटीए हमने देखा है, इट इज इधर अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज और रिवर्स चार्ज. अगर जीटीए को पे करना है तो ही विल बी अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज. ही कैन पे 12 और 5%, 5% विदाउट आईटीसी एंड 12% विद आईटीसी. और रिवर्स चार्ज में अगर हमको पे करना है तो वी विल ऑलवेज पे एट व्हाट रेट. जीटीए अगर रिवर्स चार्ज पे करना है तो व्हाट रेट यू विल अप्लाई. वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड. एवरीबडी इज गिवन अ करेक्ट आंसर. रिवर्स चार्ज होगा तो वी विल पे एट 5% ओनली. ठीक है. और अगर जीटीए रैंडम गुड्स सप्लाई करता है, या फिर रेलवेज में भी टैक्सेबल है, लेकिन रेलवेज या जीटीए अगर रैंडम गुड्स सप्लाई करता है तो इट विल बी एग्जेम्प्टेड. व्हाट इज दिस रैंडम गुड्स? दिस इज रैंडम गुड्स, एनी काइंड ऑफ रिलीफ मटेरियल्स, एनी काइंड ऑफ R stands for relief materials, any agriculture produce, newspapers and magazines, defense or military equipments, then any kind of organic manure. M stands for any milk, salt, food grains, flour, pulses and rice. इन चीजों को ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए जीटीए will not charge and you should not also pay under reverse charge. So only random goods pay. Railway also will not charge GST and GTA also will not charge GST. ठीक है. सो रैंडम नो जीएसटी, करेक्ट. रैंडम के ऊपर नो जीएसटी. रैंडम गुड्स का आप याद रख लीजिए रैंडम. सो यू विल अंडरस्टैंड ऑल द 6 कैटेगरी ऑफ गुड्स. सो रोड, जीटीए, we understood. Next is other mediums of road, that is through individual trucks, not a GTA. It is individual trucks, cart, bullock cart, these are all exempted. Railways, what is taxable? आप रेलवे में गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट करते हो ना, लाइक यू आर स्टील मैन्युफैक्चरर, आप रेलवे से ट्रांसपोर्ट करते हो. कुछ कुछ कार्स भी ट्रांसपोर्ट होते हैं रेलवे से, दे आर ऑल टैक्सेबल. सो वी आर ऑल टॉकिंग अबाउट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ गुड्स. जो भी गुड्स आप रेलवे के थ्रू ट्रांसपोर्ट करते हो. रेलवेज डू प्रोवाइड कार्गो सर्विसेज, करेक्ट. आपको पता है ना, नॉर्मल ट्रेन भी है और गुड्स ट्रेन भी होती है. So all of this which is transported through goods train will all be taxable except the random goods and railway equipments. तो रेलवे को भी रेलवे इक्विपमेंट्स ट्रेन से ट्रांसफर करनी चाहिए, दैट इज ऑल्सो एग्जेम्प्टेड एंड रैंडम गुड्स आर एग्जेम्प्टेड. ठीक है. So that is all on this transportation services. If cars is stock in trade transferred through railways, taxable because it is transportation of goods which is getting transported. So it will be taxable. What is your question, Asta?
सर वो कंफ्यूज हो गई थी कि ये टैक्सेबल है या एग्जम्प्ट है गुड्स के केस.
So आपने पूछा कि if they are stock in trade, it can be stock in trade or it can be fixed assets, whatever. That is the accounting treatment. लेकिन if you are transporting it through railways, it will be taxable.
Even if it is fixed asset.
Yeah, even if it is fixed assets, for you it is fixed assets. For railways, it is ultimately a goods. Correct. So we are talking about the transportation charges which is levied by the railways. So transportation of your car, which is a fixed asset, they will charge transportation charges. On that, GST will be payable.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, that is on transportation charges. Next is okay, GST on buses if it is for corporate purposes. Suppose there is a company called Infosys, it hires the local buses. On that, will there be tax payable? Yes, it says the exemption will not be available because you will get it transferred according to your requirements. So it will be taxable and not exempted. Random by water or air is taxable? Yes, random by water or air will be taxable, but only random by rail and road will be exempted. Water was exempt. Yes, water continues, water exemption will be there. Air, it will be taxable. Next is any right of admission to any events. If there is an event which is conducted, right, and you have to pay entry fees, तो उसके लिए exemption होगा. हाँ, if it is for a museum, okay, for any museum, national park, or any wildlife sanctuary, or a tiger reserve or zoo, then it is exempted. Because these are all places where government needs a lot of uh, travelers to come in. So any government museum, national park, wildlife sanctuary, and tiger reserve and zoo reserves, it will be exempted. Or if it is any protected monuments, right? Ancient sites or archaeological sites or remote archaeological are under the Sites and Remains Act or the State Act. Okay, it says Site and Remains Act or State Act will be exempted. It will be fully taxable when if it is other than these, which means if you go to any water park, theme park, exhibition, film city, amusement park, cinema hall, it will be fully taxable. Further, now you have other places where there's a limit, wherein if you go to any circus, dance, theatrical performance, if you go to any award function, concert, pageant, musical performance, or any sporting events, other than recognized sporting events, or a recognized sporting event, or a planetarium, it will be taxable if the value, if the consideration is up to 500 rupees per person. मतलब entry fees अगर 500 के नीचे है तब exempted, अगर 500 के ऊपर है तो fully taxable. Okay, planetarium, dance, theatrical performance, award function, or a regional sporting event, then it will all be exempted up to 500 rupees. Okay. Related to this, services by an artist who is performing. If they perform in any folk or art classical form of music or dance, then it is exempted if the consideration is up to 1.5 lakh rupees. Means a person. Now, abhi entry to ho gaya. If 600, then full 600 taxable. Yes, full 600 will be taxable. Now, अब जब जो परफॉर्मेंस कर रहा है, म्यूजिक डांस परफॉर्मेंस कर रहा है या फिर थिएटर परफॉर्म कर रहा है, योर थिंग विल बी टैक्सेबल और एग्जेम्प्टेड, डिपेंड्स ऑन द कैटेगरी. लेकिन जो परफॉर्म कर रहा है वो भी ऑर्गेनाइजर से कुछ अमाउंट चार्ज कर रहा है. कितना चार्ज कर रहा है? अगर 1.5 लाख तक चार्ज कर रहा है तो एग्जेम्प्टेड है, लेकिन 1.5 लाख से ऊपर है तो फिर टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. किस चीज के लिए? सिर्फ फोक और क्लासिकल आर्ट फॉर्म दूसरों के लिए एग्जेम्प्टेड हो जाएगा, दूसरे के लिए टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. बट इफ इट इज पर प्रोग्राम, यस पर प्रोग्राम. इफ इट इज फॉर क्लासिकल और folk art form of music, dance, or theater, then it will be exempted up to 1.5 lakh. For any Bollywood songs, it will be taxable. Any limit. ब्रांड एम्बेसडर इट बी टैक्सेबल. सिर्फ 50,000 रुपए मिले ब्रांड एम्बेसडर बनने के लिए, फिर भी टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. और बॉलीवुड सॉन्ग के लिए 50,000, जनरली बॉलीवुड सॉन्ग के लिए इतना चीप में कोई नहीं करेगा. करेक्ट. सो बॉलीवुड सॉन्ग एंड ब्रांड एम्बेसडर, दैट इज ऑल फॉर कमर्शियल पर्पसेस, not for any kind of a art form or something like that. That's why it will be fully taxable. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज रेसिडेंशियल वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन. अगर आपका वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन है एंड इट्स अ रेसिडेंशियल वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन, देन अप टू 7,500 रुपीज जो भी आप कलेक्ट करते हो उतने तक एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा. अबव 7,500 इट इज टैक्सेबल. नाउ यू हैव अ फ्लैट, यू हैव अपार्टमेंट, वहां पे 10 फ्लैट्स है and you're collecting from everybody 8,000 rupees. So how much is it? monthly 8,000 rupees you're collecting. 8,000 into how many flats I said? 10 flats. So 80,000 you're collecting. तो पूरे साल के लिए कितना हो जाएगा? 9,60,000 rupees. So should you pay GST? You should still not pay GST even if you're collecting more than 7,500 क्योंकि for applying for registration for a person who's providing services, we know the limit is how much? How much is the limit for registration? 20 lakhs. Correct. So what is RWA? Residential Welfare Association. जब एक अपार्टमेंट होता है वहां पे बहुत सारे लोग आते हैं एंड ऑल द फ्लैट ओनर्स पे और जो भी मेंटेनेंस है वो साथ में करते हैं. दैट इज कॉल्ड अ रेसिडेंशियल वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन. सो सिंस आपका लिमिट 20 lakhs है और आपने कलेक्ट किया है 9,60,000, so you don't have to pay any GST. So you have to check two criteria: whether the turnover of the welfare association is more than 20 lakhs. Yes, then only for those flats for which you are collecting more than 7,500 per month, उन पे GST चार्ज करना है, बाकी को चार्ज नहीं करना है. If you're charging 9,000 and one you're charging 7,000, for this person whom you're charging 7,000, you will not collect GST. For this other person whom you're collecting 9,000, you will pay the GST. ठीक है. The limit of 7,500 is to be checked per flat or per month and not per member. Suppose one person has two flats and he's paying 7,000 and 7,000. Now that is 14,000. So should you collect GST from him or no? No. Correct. Because it is not based on per person, it is based on per flat. So each flat is paying 7,000 rupees. So no GST payable. Clear? Next is legal services. We know that under legal services, we have RCM and things, but this chart will give you clarity saying that what is exempt, how much it is exempt, and what is taxable. So supplier is a individual or a firm of advocate, and if he is providing to another individual or firm of advocate, it is exempted. If he is providing services to a senior advocate, that is also exempted. If he is providing service to a business entity whose gross receipts are below the specified limits, then also it is exempted. But if he is providing to a business entity whose gross receipts exceed the specified limit, then 18% will payable under RCM. And if he's providing to a central government exempt or to any other person, which means a person who is not a business entity, that is also exempted. Okay. And if a senior advocate provides to another advocate, that is taxable. So ये आपको कहीं पर भी point नहीं मिलेगा. This is what I have analyzed and mentioned it. Please note this down. Key this point, that is, if a senior advocate or a arbitral tribunal provides to another senior advocate or to an individual advocate, it is taxable. Not under RCM, under FCM itself, because RCM is only in these cases. When a senior advocate provides services to a business entity, then it is under RCM. But if senior advocate provides to an individual advocate or a arbitral tribunal provides to an individual advocate, then it is taxable. But if an individual advocate provides services to a senior advocate, then it is exempted. In all other cases, it is exempted only when if it is a business entity who is receiving the service, it will be taxable under reverse charge. Specified limit is threshold limit. Yes, specified limit is the threshold limit. Dhanush's question is, sir, 20 lakhs or less, more than 7,500, less than 7,500, both taxable. No, if it is less than 20 lakhs, both are exempted. I didn't say it is taxable, both are exempted because less than the limit, so you don't have to register and you don't have to collect any GST because you don't have to pay the GST unless you cross the threshold limit. Okay. The next important exemption is on residential dwelling because वहां पे कुछ अमेंडमेंट आए हैं ना, विच इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. These are all fine. These are old, and you have to just remember this. Nothing great to explain in them. Hmm. Residential dwelling, it says that any service by way of renting of residential dwelling, any services by way of renting of residential dwelling for use as residence will be exempted. Okay, यहाँ तक पढ़ लीजिए. Service by way of renting of residential dwelling for use as residence is exempted except, तो यहां तक exempted है, but where the residential dwelling is rented to a registered person, then it will be taxable. Which means if I'm giving on rent to you, I'm giving on rent to a family, they are staying there for residential purposes, that will be exempted. Hmm. Now, if I'm giving that same house to a person who is registered under GST, then it will be taxable. But there is an explanation which clarifies this further. It says that for the purpose of exemption under this entry shall cover services by way of renting of residential dwelling to a registered person where the registered person is proprietor of a proprietorship concern and rents the residential dwelling in his personal capacity. Okay. For use as his own residence, and such renting is on his own account and not that of the proprietorship concern. Now, there is an individual, he is having a GST registration. Just because he is having a GST registration, should he pay GST? Because he is using this house for his residential purpose. So, you have to bifurcate between the personal use and official use. If the person is using the premises for his personal use, then he should not pay GST. But if this person is taking a house and is having an office in that house, then he has to pay GST under reverse charge. Okay. And further, it says nothing contained in this entry shall apply to accommodation services for students in students' residences and accommodation services provided by hostel camps, because उसके लिए अलग सा एक नोटिफिकेशन है. तो यहां तक समझ गए हो आप. जब भी एक रेसिडेंशियल ड्वेलिंग रेसिडेंस के लिए यूज करते हैं, व्हेन यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग इट टू एन अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, तो फिर जीएसटी नहीं है. बिकॉज रोटी कपड़ा मकान तो सबको चाहिए, तो इसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं है. लेकिन इफ यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग योर रेसिडेंशियल ड्वेलिंग टू अ पर्सन हु इज रजिस्टर्ड, और वो ले रहा है और अपने एम्प्लॉयज के स्टे के लिए दे रहा है, सो किसके लिए है वो, इवन दो इफ इट इज रेसिडेंट्स, बट इट इज यूज्ड बाय द कंपनी फॉर इट्स एम्प्लॉयज, तो इसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा. और दे आर यूजिंग इट फॉर देयर ऑफिस पर्पसेस. रेसिडेंशियल में ऑफिस नहीं चलाना चाहिए, लेकिन रेसिडेंस को लेके ऑफिस चला दिया है, देन जीएसटी विल बी पेएबल. देन सर, इफ अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन यूजिंग बिजनेस पर्पसेस, फिर भी उसको नहीं लगेगा, क्योंकि इट सेज अ रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन. सो इफ अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन इज यूजिंग इट फॉर हिज बिजनेस पर्पसेस, फिर भी जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा. If uses for office purpose and residential purposes both, हाँ, so in that cases complexity may come. तो फिर वहां पे क्या करना पड़ेगा, आपको बाइफरकेट करना पड़ेगा. क्लियर है यहाँ तक. इन एक्सप्लेनेशन टू एग्जाम और नो यहां से एक्सक्लूड किया गया है, उसका पॉइंट नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में है. दैट इज, इफ यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग रेंटिंग ऑफ रेसिडेंशियल ड्वेलिंग either by a registered person or unregistered person for use as residence to an unregistered person is exempt under GST, correct? So renting of residential dwelling by a registered person or an unregistered person for use as residence to an unregistered person is always exempted. Renting of residential dwelling for use as resident to a registered person other than proprietor covered in that explanation, as well as renting of residential dwelling for commercial use is liable to GST. The tax on renting of residential dwelling to a registered person is payable by the registered person under reverse charge. If it is to an unregistered person, then the supplier has to pay it. So, somebody had asked the question, sir, if unregistered person using for business purposes, Johan, if the supplier is registered, then he has to charge. If the supplier also is unregistered, then no GST. ठीक है? And on that exclusion, it says that supply of accommodation services having a value of supply which is less than or equal to 25,000 rupees per person per month, provided the accommodation service is supplied for minimum continuous period of 90 days. Okay, so if you're providing any accommodation services and the value of that accommodation is up to 25,000 rupees or any value less than 25,000 rupees, मतलब if you are giving any hostel और आप monthly charges कलेक्ट करते हो hostel या PG, hostel हो या PG हो, which you are collecting charges of say up to 25,000 rupees and the condition is that the person has to continue to stay for minimum 90 days. ऐसा नहीं कि एक दिन आया चला गया, एक महीना आया चला गया. Generally, PGs give a PG for a long term itself. So if you are providing PG for a period of 90 days or more, minimum 90 days, then also it is exempted. ठीक है? So only if the registered person uses the space for business, it will be taxable. Otherwise, it will be exempted. Right. Okay. Then one more amendment which is relevant for you as is supply of services by way of providing metering equipments on rent, testing for meters, transporters, capacitors, wherein it is given by electricity companies for shifting of meters, which are incidental or ancillary to transmission or distribution of electricity, they are also exempted. So this is an amendment wherein that any kind of metering equipments provided by electricity connection companies on rent, okay, metering equipments on rent, testing, etc., that will also be exempted. So for above 90 days, say 100 days, full 100 taxable, no, full 100 exempted. If it is below 90 days, then it will be taxable because they have to give for a minimum continuous period. It doesn't say maximum. You have to give for minimum continuous period of 90 days, then only it is exempted. Clear? So these were the major exemptions which we have covered. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay. So the team from the Board of Studies, Ms. Swati ma'am, will come and start the quiz for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
So I think we should take, have we taken a break in the session till now?
No, we have not taken.
So I think we should take at least 5 minutes break so that students can at least get a breather because topic was already heavy.
Sure, madam.
Okay. We would be rejoining at 4:15, and in the meantime, we request the students to join through a separate device on the link which we have given in the chat box. It is so all those So welcome back, students. And we are back with our GST Titan quiz on the topic exemptions from GST. So now we'll test how much you have learned about exemptions chapter and through the quiz, through the questions which we'll be testing with you. But before that, we want all the students to join at this link, which is there on your screen. That is quizzes.
Yes, sir. I can, even I cannot hear. Mm, Madam, your voice is not audible. So,
Are we audible now?
Okay, okay.
Okay.
So let's see how many students have joined in the okay. 23 students have joined in the quiz, and now we are starting the quiz. Those who are yet to join,
They will join
they
me.
may join in the meantime and can start. We are starting with the quiz now. Okay. So let us see the first question. Yeah. ABC Trust, a charitable trust registered under Section 12AB of the Income Tax Act, is registered under GST in Rajasthan. It provided coaching for cricket to teenagers, yoga training to middle aged people, and skill development services to persons over the age of 65 years residing in a metro city in the month of June. Now, ABC Trust is liable to pay GST on skill development services and yoga training, only skill development services, coaching for cricket, yoga training, and skill development services. And last one is coaching and yoga training. So three set of services ABC Trust is providing. Which of them is taxable, or on which of them ABC Limited Trust is liable to pay GST? That you have to tell.
Quiz code is 262053.
Yes, quiz
Any
code is
student who is
262053. Anyone who wants to join, they can join. So we still have 20 seconds left, and all of you who have not marked the correct answer should mark it. Those who are yet to join can join it. You can join from the, you will be able to participate from the next question. So in the meantime, you can join the quiz portal. Okay. So with this, time is up, and let us see the leaderboard. So on the leaderboard, we have Priya on the top, Astha, Shalini, And then we have Payal, Ishan, Prem, Banipreet Kaur, and Almas. So these are the top 8 students who have answered correctly. Very good. And let us see how many of you, in fact, 8 of you have answered correctly, this shows. And the correct answer is option B, that is skill development services. Okay. So 2 have marked as skill development and yoga and training. So as per them, yoga training is also taxable. Then 11 have marked coaching for cricket and yoga training, and 4 have marked as coaching for cricket, yoga training, and skill development service. So this gives us, I think, most of you have some confusion in this exemption, because lesser number of students have marked the correct answer and more have marked the wrong answer. So let us come with the concept involved in this question. Let us see why the correct answer was option B, that is skill development services. There are 2 entries relating to the entities registered under Section 12AB of the Income Tax Act. One is entry 1, which says that any services provided by an entity registered under Section 12AB by way of charitable activities is exempt from GST. And entry 80, which inter alia provides that training or coaching in sports by way of charitable activities, sports by charitable activities provided by an entity registered under Section 12AB is also exempt. Now, within this parameter, we have to see each of the entries. But before that, we should know what is a charitable activity. So whatever, because we cannot see the entire definition, this will take away the whole quiz. So we'll only focus on the activities which we have mentioned. There are 3 activities which ABC Trust is providing. First is coaching for cricket to teenagers. Now, this gets covered in entry 80, which provides that the services by way of training or coaching in sports by charitable entities registered under Section 12AB. Any charitable entity, if it is providing coaching in sports, then that is exempt. So now ABC Trust is a charitable trust registered under Section 12AB. So that qualifies, it qualifies as an entity registered under Section 12AB. It is providing coaching for cricket, yani coaching for sports, and it is a eligible entity also. So this particular service gets exempted. Next is yoga training to middle-aged people. Now, when the entry 1 says that any activity by way of charitable activities, which is provided, any service by way of charitable activities provided by an entity registered under Section 12AB, then charitable activities includes any activity which is there for the advancement of yoga, religion, or spirituality. So this yoga training will definitely advance the yoga, and therefore it also gets covered under charitable activities, and this is also exempt. Now, last activities, skill development services to persons over the age of 65 years residing in a metro city. Now, if you see the definition of charitable activity, it is available in the book also. So you can refer simultaneously, you can keep referring it, but don't go for the answers of the questions. You have to, don't go for other provisions, only see the relevant provision. Why I am saying you? Because you can refer the relevant provision, and that is why we are referring to that particular provision. Skill development services provided to persons over the age of 65 years is a charitable activity as per notification 12 by 2017, which is the exemption notification. But this provides that those skill development services should be provided to the persons who are residing in urban area. Now here, the old age persons are residing in a metro city. Yes. So that is why it is not exempt, and that is why it is subject to tax, or GST is payable on this particular service. So correct answer will be option B, because all or the other 2 services are exempt. Only one service is taxable, that is skill development services.
So services provided in rural area are the one which are exempt, and any services which are provided, skill development services, if they are provided in urban area, they would be taxable.
So that is why skill development is taxable.
Because it is provided in a metro city.
So let's move to next question. Asta is saying, if providing services in metro cities but person residing in rural areas. Actually, if you see the point, the provision, Asta, it says that the skill development services are relating to persons over the age of 65 years residing in a rural area. So the primary condition is that the persons should be residing in the rural area. For getting the skill development services, they can go to some other place, but they should be primarily residing in the rural area. If they have to go to some nearby area, it appears from the definition that they would be eligible for exemption. So let's move to the next question. We will be a bit quick in moving to across the
question,
questions so that
yeah.
we want to, because we want to cover more and more questions.
Yeah.
Hope that is okay with you. पवन is saying हिंदी में ठीक है, हिंदी में समझा देते हैं पवन, एक बार जल्दी से समझा देते हैं इसको कि कोई भी चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट जो कि सेक्शन 12A इनकम टैक्स एक्ट का है उसमें रजिस्टर्ड होता है, उसके लिए दो एग्जाम्पशन हमारा जीएसटी लॉ बताता है। एक एग्जाम्पशन ये है कि वो कोई चैरिटेबल एक्टिविटीज सर्विसेज चैरिटेबल एक्टिविटीज वाली दे रहा है, या फिर वो कोई स्पोर्ट्स में ट्रेनिंग या कोचिंग दे रहा है, दोनों सर्विसेज एग्जेम्प्ट है। अब यहाँ ये दोनों मैंने आपकी क्यों कवर की, क्योंकि इसी से रिलेटेड हमारा पूरा क्वेश्चन है। इस क्वेश्चन में 3 तरह की सर्विसेज एबीसी ट्रस्ट दे रहा है। पहला, कोचिंग फॉर क्रिकेट टू टीनेजर्स। अब ये पहले ये ट्रेनिंग और कोचिंग इन स्पोर्ट्स बाय चैरिटेबल एंटिटीज में कवर हो जाएगा, इसीलिए ये एग्जेम्प्ट हो गया। सेकेंड सर्विस है योगा ट्रेनिंग टू मिडल एज्ड पीपल। योगा ट्रेनिंग जो है वो आप अगर एंट्री 1 देखो या एंट्री जो भी 80 मैंने बोला कोचिंग इन स्पोर्ट्स वाली, उनमें कवर नहीं होता। लेकिन जो फर्स्ट एंट्री है एंट्री 1, वो कहता है बाय सर्विसेज बाय वे ऑफ चैरिटेबल एक्टिविटीज। चैरिटेबल एक्टिविटीज की डेफिनेशन है पूरी, वो आपको जरूर ध्यान से पढ़नी चाहिए, उस पर बेस्ड क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, इस तरह से पूछा जा सकता है। क्योंकि तो वो डेफिनेशन ये बताती है हमें कि अगर हम किसी भी कोई हमारी ऐसी एक्टिविटी जैसे योगा का एडवांसमेंट हो रहा है, कोई रिलीजियस एक्टिविटी का हो रहा है, स्पिरिचुअलिटी आप एडवांस कर रहे हो, बढ़ा रहे हो, तो वो एक्टिविटीज भी एग्जेम्प्ट होंगी। थर्ड एक्टिविटी है स्किल डेवलपमेंट सर्विसेज टू पर्सन ओवर द एज ऑफ 65 ईयर्स रिजाइडिंग इन अ मेट्रो सिटी। जो चैरिटेबल एक्टिविटीज की डेफिनेशन है उसमें क्या कवर होता है, स्किल डेवलपमेंट सर्विसेज हम किन लोगों को दे रहे हैं, ठीक है वो 65 ईयर्स से ऊपर के होने चाहिए, बहुत वहां तक ठीक है, लेकिन वो लोग कहाँ रहते हुए होने चाहिए, वो लोग रूरल एरिया में रहना चाहिए उनको। तो अगर वो रेजिडेंट्स है रूरल एरिया के तब वो एग्जम्पशन अवेलेबल है। यहाँ हमने मेट्रो सिटी के लोगों को ये सर्विसेज दी है स्किल डेवलपमेंट की, तो इसीलिए ये एग्जेम्प्ट नहीं है। करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन बी। ओके, लेट्स मूव टू नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। The next question is there on your screen.
Next question is, which of the following services relating to agriculture are not exempt from GST? Option A, loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of rice. Entry B, milling of paddy into rice. Option C, agricultural extension services. And option D is renting of agro machinery. So please, I will insist you to please read the question carefully. Here it says, which of the following services are not exempt from GST. Sometimes students end up in, giving the wrong answer.
This is the
They
catch
skip
of,
the word.
you have to read the question carefully, as Swati
Yeah.
told, that not exempt, and generally we end up marking exempt options.
Yeah. Please don't give your answer
Yeah,
in the
directly
chat box.
sending to us.
Okay.
So you can send your answers directly if you want to send in chat. Otherwise, don't give any prompt to other students. Let them do it fairly. And you still have 1 more minute to answer this question. So we want all of you to mark the correct option.
This is an easy question, in fact, because agricultural services is something which is easy to understand.
Still, we are getting mixed answers. So let us see how all of you perform in this particular question. And these questions will definitely clear some of your concepts, because in last service, you get to know that charitable activities definition is also important to learn. So last few seconds for you to answer the question. And time is up. So let us see the leaderboard.
So Priya is on the top, then followed by Astha, Payal, then Shalini, Ishan, Prem, Bunnypreet, Almas, and Tej Chauhan, Soumya. Tej used to be at the top 5 list. Soumya,
Earlier he used to be there. So today also he'll back up.
Jayendra, Anubhav, Arandruti, Janvi, Rihana, then Mozil, Pranav, Bhavya, Nisha Kumari Singh, and
That's it.
yes,
So top
that's
20
it.
we have got.
And one thing is good that majority have
all
given
of
the
you,
correct
most of you
answers.
have
Most
answered it
of
correctly.
you
That
have
is very, very
yeah,
good. So
that's
Swati was right in judging this question, that this is an easy one, and we are happy that you know this concept.
yes. So let us again just go through
Before,
the
just
question.
sorry to interrupt you, Swati. Tanu Vishwakarma is asking, ma'am, where to give the answer? Actually, Tanu, we have given a link in the chat box. If you can, we'll once again give you the link and you can join through that link in this quiz. There you have to mark the correct option and you will get to join this quiz. So we are once again giving the link. And in the meantime, Swati will explain the concept to the other students.
See, all the relevant entries for agriculture we have clubbed together. If you will refer the study material, it is entry 24, 24A, 24B, then entry 54, 55, and 55A. Now discussing about the specific entries which are covered in this particular MCQ, in this particular quiz, loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of rice has been specifically exempted from GST wide entry number 24. Then agriculture extension services is also specifically exempted by entry 54. Renting of agro machinery is also specifically exempted by entry 54. Now coming to milling of paddy into rice. Here we have an entry number 55, which talks about carrying out an intermediate production process as job work in relation to cultivation of plants. So this is exempt. Now, if we talk about milling of paddy into rice, milling of paddy is not an intermediate production process in relation to cultivation of plants. Then processing of paddy into rice, it is not usually carried out by an agriculturist. Cultivation is by rice millers. And when milling of paddy into rice, it also changes its essential characteristics. Therefore, it cannot be considered as an intermediate production process in relation to cultivation of plants.
Because it's not undertaken by cultivators, basically.
Yes.
Millers are not cultivators. They are, once it is taken out from your field and then they, convert the paddy into rice. They take out the,
Yeah, this is
husk
carried
portion and
out
they
after the
make it
process of
rice.
cultivation is over. So that is why it is after the paddy has been harvested, then this process takes place. That is why milling of paddy into rice, it has been clarified by the circular that it is not eligible for exemption under entry number 55. So in the point B, this is not exempt from GST. Milling of paddy into rice is not exempt from GST. In all the other three options, it
They
is
are
exempt from
specifically
GST.
exempt.
They are
Agricultural
specifically
extension services, renting
renting
of
of
agro
agro
machinery, they are
machinery.
specifically exempt. So we have explained milling of paddy into rice for you. Now let us come to the next question. Oh, yeah, we have seen the leaderboard also. No? So let's
Yeah.
come to the next question.
And the question is there on the screen.
Yeah. So which of the following educational services are not exempt from GST? First is JEE Mains entrance exam conducted by National Testing Agency. Long duration programs, that is a 2-year program conducted by IIMs. Coaching for preparation of UPSC entrance examination provided by Perfect Coaching Classes. And next is catering services provided to Little Angels Public School. Go through the question carefully and go through the options and mark the correct option. So almost 30 seconds left, and we still have so many of you who have not marked the options. So please mark your as per you, which is the correct option. Even if you're not aware, you should mark the question and you should participate in the quiz. You will definitely learn something new today. So please participate in the quiz. That will help you in understanding the concepts. Last few seconds left.
And the time is over.
Time is over. So let us see the leaderboard first. So on the top, we have Priya, Astha, Payal, Prem, Banipreet. These are top 5. And then we have Ishan, Almas, Soumya, Viplav, Jaindra, Tej, Anubhav, Shalini.
Rihanna, Thenmozil, Nisha Kumari Singh, Rajveer Roy, Anand Rudhi, Janvi Chiravri, Tanu Vishwakarma, then Pavan Kumar, then Pranav, Bhavya Neeraj, and Harshpreet Kaur.
So few others have joined the bandwagon, and in fact,
A large
though
number of students are
some
there,
of them
yes.
who were toppers in the last and few last quizzes have also joined, so we can see them, and we are expecting that all of you will get on the top now. So out of the how many students have? Yes, 28 students. 20 have answered it correctly. And the correct answer is coaching for preparation of UPSC entrance examination provided by Perfect Coaching. Let us see the question once again and let us see why other answers are not correct. Question asks you to mention the service which is not exempt. Okay. JEE means entrance examination conducted by National Testing Agency. Now, National Testing Agency, there is a specific, first of all, let us see the services, educational services which are exempt and which are provided by an educational institution. There are two types of educational services which are exempt. Educational services provided to an educational institution and by an educational institution. So, in case of by, this services which are provided by an educational institution, there are two types of services. Services provided by an educational institution to its students, staff, and teachers. That is one. But it is not to be seen in any of the option. Second, services by an educational institution by way of conducting the entrance examination where the consideration is represented by way of entrance fee. Now, so any entrance examination, if any educational institution is conducting and it is charging entrance fee for that, then that will be exempt. Now the question arises, is National Testing Agency and is an educational institution? The answer to that is yes, because there is a specific circular which provides that the any authority or any body which has been set up by the central or state government, and NTA, National Testing Agency, is one such agency. It is specifically mentioned in your study material, also discussed elaborately in your study material, that it is an educational institution for the limited purpose of this particular entry, that is services provided by way of conduct of an entrance examination in lieu of the entrance fee. So for this particular purpose, National Testing Agency or any other body which is set up by center or state government and which is conducting entrance examination for admission to the educational institutions. JEE means it conducts the entrance examination for admission to the engineering institutes, specified engineering institutes. So therefore, this National Testing Agency is an educational institution and this service becomes exempt.
Again, we will say that it is very important to go through the definitions meticulously. Here also the definition of educational institution is very important. Once you know what does gets covered in the educational institution, then only you will be able to apply the exemption.
And this is a specific circular which clarifies it further.
Yes.
Now, second point is related to what Swati said. The definition is very important. Now, Indian Institute of Management, IIMs, they are covered by the definition of educational institution because they provide the services, the education recognized by law. Okay, they are providing the education recognized by law, but they are conducting two types of courses. Sometimes some are long duration courses of more than 1 year or more than 1 year, and some are short duration courses of less than 1 year. So long duration programs, this is also a circular which has specifically clarified this point, that the long duration programs of 1 year or more conducted by the IIMs, they provide the diploma or degree certificates for that. So in that case, that degree or diploma is an education recognized by law and it is exempt by way of the exemption notification. Had it been a short duration course, then they provide the participation certificate. Now that participation certificate is not a qualification recognized by law and therefore it is not eligible for exemption. But in our case, it is a long duration program, so this became exempted. We'll come to the last service because third, you know that it is a coaching center who is organizing the coaching classes. Even though it is organizing coaching for UPSC entrance exam, that does not matter. It is organizing coaching for an entrance exam. So somewhere entrance exam might have confused some students कि entrance exam देखते ही लगा कि अच्छा ये तो कुछ entrance exam से related है, exempt होगा. नहीं, कोचिंग दे रहे हैं हम. एंड कोचिंग क्लासेस हैव बीन प्रोवाइडेड बाय प्राइवेट कोचिंग सेंटर, तो वो एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन की डेफिनेशन में नहीं आता. Then is the last point, catering services provided to Little Angels Public School. Now, catering service is a service which is being provided to an educational institution. So, I already discussed with you that two types of services are exempt. Services provided by an educational institution. वहाँ कुछ स्पेसिफाइड सर्विसेज हैं जो एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, और जो एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन को प्रोवाइड की जा रही है वहाँ भी कुछ स्पेसिफाइड सर्विसेज है, जिसमें से कि एक सर्विस है केटरिंग सर्विस. तो केटरिंग सर्विस अगर आप किसी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन को दे रहे हो तो वो एग्जेम्प्ट होगी, provided that educational institution is a preschool or an institution which is providing qualification up to higher or senior secondary education. सिर्फ उन्हीं educational institutions को अगर आप catering services दे रहे हो तो that is exempt. लेकिन हमारे केस में तो हम Little Angel Public School को दे रहे हैं, तो ये obviously it is a school and therefore it is exempt. तो एक ही सर्विस बचती है ऑप्शन सी जो कि एग्जाम नहीं है, बिकॉज इट इज अ कोचिंग प्रोवाइडेड बाय अ प्राइवेट कोचिंग क्लास. So let us move to the next question now.
And the next question is, which of the following services provided by Healthy Wealthy Nursing Home are not exempt from GST? Now, option A is renting of rooms with per day charges of rupees 6,000 to inpatients. Option 2, food supplies to inpatient. Option 3, healing of patients through naturopathy. And option D is services provided in intensive care unit for which rupees 12,000 are charged per day. And you have time. I am expecting correct answer from all of you, because that is also not a difficult question. Am I right? Yeah, all of the students who have joined, please answer whatever you feel is the correct answer, because even if your answer gets wrong, you will be able to understand the concepts and retain the concepts. When we made mistakes, we retain the points very well. $30 left. Mr. Chauhan has replied. Rajveer has also replied. I hope that you have also marked the correct answer, in that quiz app.
They must have marked it because they all had participated earlier also. Rajveer,
Chauhan.
Prakash, I think Tej Chauhan Prakash. This is the.
And the time is over. Let's see the leaderboard. Oh, so, now it's Asa Sethi. She's on the top.
Good.
Very good. And almost all the students have also given the correct answer. Let's see the leaderboard once again. First is Asa Sethi, then Priya, Payal, Banipreet Kaur, Prem Kumar, Ishan, Elmas, Soumya. Elmas has maintained his position. Soumya, Viplav, Zendra, Tej Chauhan, Anubhav Malik, Shalini, Nisha Kumari, Rajveer, Ragi. Then after Rajveer
was on 17th, I suppose. 15th.
Yeah, then Anirudhruti, Tanu, Pranav, and Janvi, Neeraj, Bhavya, Rihana, Thenmozil, Pavan Kumar, then Harshpreet and Subhanshi Grover. Very good. Almost all of you have given the correct answer. As you know, healthcare services, this is entry number 46 and entry number 74. Wherever the related services are there, we have clubbed together and given the provisions at one place. So entry 46 and 74 talks about the healthcare services. Entry 46 is basically in relation to healthcare of animals or birds, and for human beings it is entry number 74. Now, food supplied to inpatient, this is specifically, this has been clarified by the circular that food supplied to inpatient is exempt as it becomes in the nature of a composite supply. So, since healthcare service is exempt, so due to the service being in the nature of composite supply, food supplied to inpatients also gets exempt. Healing of patients through naturopathy. Basically, naturopathy is a form of, it is a recognized system of medicines, and that's why it is exempt. Then services provided in ICU for which 12,000 are charged per day. See, when we talk about the room charges, services by way of, clinical establishment by way of providing rooms, but there is an exception other than ICU, CCU, ICCU, and an ICU, neonatal intensive care unit. So these are the exemptions. The room charges, threshold limit of room charges, it doesn't apply to ICU, CCU, and NICU, ICCU, and otherwise the room charges exceeding rupees 5,000 per day to a person receiving healthcare services is not exempt. So the threshold limit is rupees 5,000 per day, right? Here the entry talks about the ICU, so there is no limit, so it is exempt. And point A, option A, renting of rooms with per day charges of rupees 6,000 to inpatient. This is in, this
Correct
exceeds
answer.
rupees 5,000. That is why this is the correct answer, because the question talks about which of the following services which is not exempt, and here the amount exceeds the threshold limit rupees 5,000. This is the reason that it becomes taxable. So it was an easy question. And coming to the next question.
So next question comes to your screen now. Which of the following services are not exempt from GST? Most of the questions we have asked, the services not exempt. So be careful. First option is services of transportation of employees in air-conditioned vans for pickup and drop over predetermined route on a predetermined schedule, which has been fixed by the company in this case, you can see. Transportation of passengers by railways in sleeper class, transportation of passengers in auto rickshaw, transportation of passengers by air in economy class from Delhi to Manipur. So you have 1.5 minutes to answer this question. Read the options carefully and mark your answer. Okay, we have started getting answers. So Tej, you are right. Rajveer, you have to see the question once again. Read the question carefully. Okay, Soumya is also right, I think. So last few seconds.
And the time.
Time is up. Let us see how all of you have performed in this particular question. So on the top now we have Payal for the
Good.
first time, then Prem, Bunnypreet, Almas, and then we have Soumya, Viplav. So this time leaderboard has changed a lot. Let us see why. Jayendra Pokle, then we have Astha, Priya, Tej Chauhan, Ishan, Anubhav, Neeraj, Bhavya, Shalini, Harshpreet, then Anandruthi, Tanu, Pranav, Pavan, Nisha Kumari, Rajveer, Janvi, Rihana, Tanmozi, Sanju, Subhanshi, and after that, we do not have any correct answers. So the correct option in this case is services of transportation of employees in air-conditioned vans for pickup and drop over predetermined route on a predetermined schedule. And rest three options are not, in fact, they are exempt, this particular service is not exempt. So this is the correct option. Let us go through the question once again. We'll see the other three options first, and then we'll see why option 1 is correct. Option 1 is correct, but it is not exempt. So first is transportation of passengers by railways in sleeper class. Now, transportation of passenger service is exempt if it is provided by railways in
other than
other than the air conditioned coaches or in first class. So if you are traveling in first class, definitely GST is being charged from you. If you are traveling in any air conditioned coach, well, many of you will be traveling these days, so you are being charged GST. But if you are traveling in a sleeper class without AC, simple sleeper class is there, then GST will not be charged and it is exempt.
So next time, if you are traveling by railway, please pay attention to the ticket.
Yeah, you can see that.
Ticket,
you can see your tickets, that whether they are charging GST or not. You will find that when you are booking your tickets through IRCTC, any mode through which you are booking your tickets, you will see the amount of GST there. Transportation of passengers in auto rickshaw specifically exempt. This is also a specific exemption entry. Transportation of passengers by air in economy class from Delhi to Manipur. Now, any travel of any transportation of passengers, especially in economy class, this was an amendment which took place 2-3 years back, from any state to a northeastern state or the Bagdogra. So if you are traveling in from, or either your journey is commencing from a northeastern state or it is terminating in any northeastern states, that too in an economy class by air, that is also exempt. So now what is not exempt is the first service, that is transportation of employees in air conditioned vans. Now here the word which is important is the air conditioned, because transportation of passengers in non-air conditioned contract carriage or stage carriage is exempt. But transportation of employees, when we are transporting our employees over a predetermined route on a predetermined schedule, so this is the fixed route which they will be following, and from the pickup point till the drop point, everybody would be traveling. This is a contract carriage. In case of stage carriage, there is a fixed route on which anybody can get into the vehicle and they can they can get down from the vehicle at any of the points. So the vehicle will keep on running at its predetermined route, and it does not depend who is actually getting into the motor vehicle and who is not, who is getting down from it. But in this case, the motor vehicle is running on a specified route for the specified persons on a specified schedule, which is decided obviously by the company who is employing these employees. So this is a contract carriage, but doesn't matter whether it is a contract carriage or it is a stage carriage, it should not be an air conditioned carriage. And in this case, we have used the words air conditioned. So that is why it is not exempt from GST. So I hope this is clear to you. If through business class, Asta is asking if through business class from Delhi to Manipur, definitely it will become taxable, because exemption is only for with respect to economy class now. Earlier exemption was for all the air travels. Now this has been restricted to economy class. Anubhav wants to say something.
He's saying, he has, used an abbreviation, BAT and triple MAN, basically.
Very good.
To
BAT
retain
places, he's saying. Yes. And this is, if others can also see that, Anubhav, you can share it with in the comment chat box, if you can share, otherwise we will share it. So if this is correct, all of you can once go through it, but if you can use it, then this will be good. This is a way of remembering actually. No, we are not able to copy this, I suppose. Let me see. No, we are not able to copy. Let us type it. So this is the abbreviation which he has used for northeastern states. Many of you will be knowing northeastern states. Sir had
given it in class, ma'am.
Oh, that is the point. Okay, so sir has given you this abbreviation or acronym. This is a good way of remembering actually provisions. So you should do this. Yeah, Anubhav is saying everyone's option. Yes, it is not available to you. So it is available for us, and we have also shared it for everyone. Though sir has shared it, then all of you must be knowing. But we found it good and useful, so we shared it with you. Okay, and okay, so all your queries are answered. Let's move to the next question. The next question is there on your screen.
Next question, which of the following services provided by Sundar Transporters, a GTA, are not exempt from GST? Option A, transport of organic manure to Agro Brothers Limited. B, transportation of household items provided to Mrs. Ridhima, unregistered. C. Transportation of goods provided to Malhotra and Malhotra Company unregistered partnership firm. Then D. Transportation of goods provided to Municipal Corporation of Delhi. And you have 1.5 minutes with you.
So try to recall the GTA provisions and answer this question. This will also revise most of your GTA provisions, exemptions relating to GTA. Well, 19 of you have answered. Let's see if more of you can answer. 22 have now marked their answers. So less than 30 seconds now left. Please quickly mark your answers. Last few seconds. Please quickly mark your options which you feel is correct. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up.
Yeah, before we see the leaderboard, let me tell you this. Yeah, as the sir has told you, Batman, this is a very good way of retaining them because there are a lot of number of states are there, and you have to retain them only because only the services of transportation of passengers embarking from or terminating in these specified services is only exempt. You can also, remember it by making the abbreviation like man at M2B, right? Whichever
So
you
there are
feel
different
convenient.
ways.
Yeah, there are
As
different
we
ways.
always suggest that it depends on your area of
Whatever
interest.
you feel is convenient, you are easy to retain man at M2B, right? So you can retain that
So
way
this
also.
Swati has created just now for you.
Yeah.
And you can create lot many on your own. When she can create in few seconds, you can do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And this is also this is a very good way of memorizing the concepts. So when certain due dates are there or some keywords you have to remember, for that acronym is the best way to learn.
You can also write it man at M2B. Okay, so when we talk about GTA services, entry 21, 21A and 21B, this I'm, why quoting the specific entry number so that you can correlate with them. Otherwise, at intermediate level, you are not expected to retain to memorize these entry numbers, right? So yes, the correct answer. Let us see the leaderboard.
Yes, let us see the
Correct
lead
answer
response.
is C. Very good. A large number of students has answered it correctly. And let us just go to the leaderboard. Due to less time, we will only name the top 5 candidates. And first is Payal Gorai, then Prem Kapoor, Prem Kumar, then Baripreet Kaur, Soumya, and Vipilav. Right. So let us understand the reason.
Yes, let us see why this option C is correct option.
See, option A, transportation of organic manure to Agro Brothers Limited. This is specifically exempt by entry number 21, which says services provided by GT by way of transportation in a goods carriage of organic manure is exempt. Then coming to the option B, transportation of household items provided to Mrs. Riddhima unregistered. Right. So this is also specifically exempt by entry number 21. It says services provided by GTA to an unregistered person. And Mrs. Riddhima is an unregistered person. So other than the following recipients, some specified recipients are there to which this exemption shall not apply. And this Mrs. Riddhima is an individual. She doesn't get covered under any of the specified recipients. Then coming to transportation of goods provided to Malhotra and Malhotra unregistered partnership firm. Since services provided by GTA to any unregistered person is exempt, including an unregistered casual taxable person, but other than the following recipients, so some specified recipients are there. If the recipient gets covered in under this, then the exemption shall not apply. And for around this, we have any partnership firm, whether registered or not under any law, including AOP. For partnership firm, whether it is registered or not, that shall not be relevant. So this will be taxable, transportation of goods provided to Malhotra and Malhotra, since it is an unregistered partnership firm. For partnership firm, registration clause is not mandatory. Then coming to option D, transportation of goods provided to Municipal Corporation of Delhi. This is also specifically exempt by entry number 21B. Services provided by GT by way of transportation of goods in a local authority. So this is exempt. And good number of students have answered it correctly.
So
So
you have understood the concept. This shows that you have actually participated in the class with full concentration, and now you are able to answer the questions. That is very good of you, and you all deserve an applause for this.
yes.
So let us move to the next question now. Asta is saying, ma'am, here partnership form includes LLP also. Yes, partnership form includes LLP. We have to see it for reverse charge, it includes LLP. Here also it should be the same, I suppose. So let us come to the next question. And next question is there on your screen. Which of the following amounts received by Sindbad Bank are not exempt from GST? Again, we are asking services not exempt from GST. One is check discounting charges received, interest on overdraft facility, charges for late payment of outstanding dues on credit card, and interest received on housing loan. So you have 1.5 minutes for answering this question. Carefully go through the options and then answer the question. This one is an easy one, I suppose. So I believe it to be an easy one. Let us see how all of you performed in this. But in past few questions, all of you have performed really well, which gives us an encouragement that yes, you are actually understanding the concept. You are able to take the benefit from the classes and you are attending your classes with full devotion. So let's see how the performance is there in this question. Less than half minute is left now for this question. So time is up. Let us see the leaderboard first. So we have Payal on the top, then Prem Kumar, and then Banipreet Kaur, Soumya, Biplav, Jayendra, Tej, Ishan, Astha, and Priya. So these are the top 10 students. It's good. And out of 27 students, 16 have marked the correct answer. So that is also a very great performance that all of you are actually understanding the concept. Though I thought that this question would be easy, so you all have marked the correct option also in this question. Let us see the options given here. First of all, the entry which is involved in this particular question. This is entry 27, which provide, and it's a very important entry, one of the very important entries like healthcare services, education services, agriculture, government related services. These are very important services which you should definitely focus on for the examination purposes. Legal services again is very, very important. So this finance related service, which is entry 27, it provides that services by way of extending loans, deposits, or advances where the consideration is represented by way of discount or interest. That will be exempt from GST. There is a specific exclusion in this entry, that is interest involved in credit card services. So whatever credit card services you are providing for that, if you are charging something, then that will not be exempt. Now let us see each and every option. Check discounting charges received. So you are taking discount, you are giving discount, you are charging discount amount when you are encashing the check for your clients. A bank is charging discount amount or discounting some amount. So the consideration is represented here by way of discount. It is exempt. Interest on overdraft facility. Again, a kind of loan or a kind of deposit facility is being, advance is being given to you. On that, interest is being charged. So consideration is being represented by way of interest. It is exempt. Last is interest received on housing loan. So loan which is represented by way of interest. Again, it is exempt. The third option says charges for late payment of outstanding dues on credit card. So on outstanding dues of credit card, the charges which we are bank is charging or taking from the client, any interest if bank is charging, that is not exempt under GST, and that is why the correct option is option C. So most of you have marked it correctly. Now let us move to the next question. We'll take 2-3 more questions and then we'll wind up the session. Okay, so now the question is,
which of the following services are liable to GST? Option A, services provided by business correspondent to a banking company with respect to accounts in its urban area branch. Then legal services provided by senior advocate to an unregistered business entity. C, services provided by a banking company to a basic saving bank account under PM Jan Dhan Yojana. D, services by way of collection of contribution under Atal Pension Yojana.
so almost 1 minute left for this question. 20 students have already marked their answers. So what about the rest of the students? Astha is saying this is not covered yet. Astha, can you please mention which point you are referring that it is not covered? And Tanu is saying please take other subjects. Okay, Tanu, this you can give
Communicate to the
recommendation.
respective
faculties, please. So Astha, you can mention that what specific point you are referring. Maybe you might have skipped that point during the class. So we can let you know. The last few seconds left for this particular question. We request all of you to mark your options. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So time is up.
Time is up. And let's have a quick look at the leaderboard. At the top, we have Payal, then Payal, Prem, Banipreet, Soumya, and Vipula. Right? And
The top
yes,
5 students are there with
lot of
us.
the students, majority have given the
And
correct
all,
answer. 70
yeah,
students have given
some
the
got
correct-
confused by option B. So option
Yeah.
B, I think, is confusing you.
Yeah, option B is confusing you. And let's see the question again. See, yes, the option A is the correct answer. Now let's see why the others are, ruled out. Why the now this question: which of the following services are liable to GST? So in option A, it is taxable, and B, C, and D are exempt. Since legal services provided by senior advocate to an unregistered business entity, this is an important exemption. Basically, legal services is also an important entry number 45, and it legal services, it exempts services provided by a senior advocate by way of legal services to either any person other than a business entity, or if it is a business entity with an aggregate turnover up to such amount in the preceding financial year as it makes eligible for exemption. So that is it basically means that if an advocate is a senior advocate is an unregistered business entity, then it is exempt from GST.
Because he has not crossed the threshold limit in this year also. That is
Yeah.
why he is unregistered. The entry says that he should not have crossed the threshold limit of registration in the preceding financial year. Now, here we have not given an information regarding preceding in financial year, but in indirect manner, the question provides that unregistered business entity is not yet registered. So if the business entity has not obtained registration in the current year, that means in the preceding year also its turnover would have been less than the threshold limit.
Yeah.
That is why it is still unregistered. And therefore, the previous year's turnover it gives an idea to you about the previous year's turnover, and that is why the legal services provided to such an entity will be exempt.
Then services provided by a banking company to a basic saving bank account under PM Jan Dhan Yojana, it is specifically exempt by entry 27A. You can, I'm referring entry number so that you can, re-refer when you go through the study material later. Then services by way of collection of contribution under Atal Pension Yojana, it is also specifically exempt. So these type of specific entries that you should also remember, because sometimes if in the exams it comes, then you should be aware of the words basically Atal Pension Yojana, PM Jan Dhan Yojana. These are specific.
And you can give a quick glance to them. If you keep on looking at these entries now, we do not expect that you should memorize the exact schemes which are exempt. That might be difficult for you. But at least if such a scheme, that there is a little possibility that such a question can come which asks you to list all the schemes which are exempt. No, but if any scheme comes in any of the question, then at least you should be able to identify that yes, this particular scheme I had read in some of the entries, and this is exempt in case of the saving bank account, or in case of the pension schemes, these are the pension schemes which are exempt. So this type of knowledge you should have. This much is expected at least.
Yeah, then services provided by a business correspondent to a banking company with respect to accounts in its rural area, in its urban area branch. Actually, at 39, this says that services provided by business facilitator or a business correspondent to a banking company with respect to accounts in its rural area branches exempt. And here in option A, we have the accounts in the urban area branch. So that is why it is taxable. So let's move to the next question.
Okay, we have moved to next question. Harsh will explain this point after this question. Which of the following services are not exempt from GST? Services by way of admission to a museum, right to admission to a circus where the ticket cost is 550 rupees per person, and classical music performance by a singer where consideration charged is 1,45,000, sponsorship of sporting events organized under Panchayat Yuva Krida or Khel Abhiyan scheme. So 1.5 minutes there for you to read the question, answer, or mark the options.
In this question also covers some specific entries, some
Specific
specific
schemes are covered.
schemes are there.
So at least by seeing the scheme, you should be able to identify that yes, some exemption is there.
That you can memorize by repetitive study, repetitive revision.
Yes, that is the way. Very good way of telling. Last few seconds left. So all of you who have not marked the correct option, please mark it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time is up. So let us see how all of you have performed in this particular question. Then we have two questions which students have asked in the chat box. So on the top we have Payal, then Prem, Bunnypreet, Soumya, Viplav, and then we have Jaindra, Tej, Ishan, Asta, and Pranav. So top 10 students are there with us. Congratulations, all of you. One more question to go, and we'll see then who will be GST Titan for the day. So only one question is left after this particular question. And this question also, students' performance is quite good. Only this entry C or option C has confused few of you. So let us see. First is services by way of admission to a museum. This is a specific exemption entry which all of you know. Then third entry is classical music performance by a singer where consideration charge is 1,45,000. Now why you have got confused in this, I have to see, because the entry says that any performance in the classical art forms, classical or folk art performance of music, dance, theater. So that is covered or that is exempt in case the consideration is up to rupees 1,50,000. Where the consideration is above 1,50,000, it exceeds 1,50,000, then that becomes taxable or that is not exempt.
And entire consideration is
Entire
taxable.
consideration. Now, this is an important point that entire consideration becomes liable to GST.
GST.
Here, the performance is in classical music, so it is very well covered within the exemption entry. Consideration is also up to rupees 1,50,000, so this entry is exempt under GST. And then we have the last entry, the last option,
Specifically.
sponsorship of sporting events organized under. Now, this is a specific scheme related exemption, that sponsorship of these any sporting event which is organized by this Panchayat Yuva Krida and Khel Abhiyan scheme. Under this scheme, if any sporting event is organized and you are sponsoring it, then that is exempt from GST.
You can refer entry 53.
Yes, so she has told you the entry also. I don't remember the entries exactly, but that helps you in locating that entry in your study material. Right to admission to a circus where the ticket cost is 550 per person. Now, in this case, why the exemption is not available? Because the exemption is only when the ticket cost is up to rupees 500 per person. Here, the ticket value exceeds this and therefore it is not exempt. Now, before we move further, there are two queries which have been marked by the students. First is that
Senior advocate.
Harsh says, please explain the senior advocate point once again. Please I will explain it to you. But before that, Astha is saying, in RCM, it is written many items, any business entity located in taxable territory. Here, even if it unregistered, RCM will give to be paid by registering itself. I think, Astha, you want to ask how I am interpreting your queries, that even if the registered person, even if the recipient is a registered person and the supplier is an unregistered person, then, or you are trying to say recipient is unregistered and he is receiving any service which is liable in the reverse charge, then he has to register himself for depositing tax with the government. Then that is true. That suppose any service is taxable under reverse charge, we have seen all the conditions are fulfilled and we saw that the recipient is not registered for any reason, its threshold is not covered, whatever be the reason. But if it is, I think in advocate point, maybe you are asking that if it is, its threshold limit is not yet exceeded, but since it and if it exceeds, then it becomes taxable. Now that is not a point. In fact, I thought you are asking for this particular point. But in RCM, any other case of RCM, if you are saying that if recipient is not registered and RCM is becoming applicable, recipient has to take registration. And otherwise also, if supplier is not registered and the service is taxable under reverse charge, then that service becomes liable to GST and recipient has to pay the tax under RCM still in that case also. Next comes the senior advocate service. Now Harsh is asking, please explain it again. That says that any service provided, legal services provided by a senior advocate to a business entity whose turnover in the preceding financial year does not exceed the threshold limit for registration. Whatever is the threshold limit for registration is applicable to that particular business entity depending on whether it is supplying exclusively goods or services or goods and services. Based on that, his threshold limit will change. Now, in the preceding financial year, its threshold limit has not exceeded or its turnover has not exceeded the threshold limit. Then in that case, in the current year, if senior advocate is providing the service, legal services to such a business entity, that service will get exempt. In case it is taxable, then we have to see the reverse charge entry because reverse charge provisions will apply. I think this is what you are asking.
So as far as I think what is your query is, yet in reverse charge it is given that services provided by a senior advocate to any business entity is taxable under RCM. But then we will go to the exemption chapter and here it is given that if a service is provided by a senior advocate to a business entity whose turnover was less within the
First of all, it has to be
threshold
taxable.
limit.
Then
Yes.
you will go to reverse.
Then we will go to exemption, and if it is unregistered in the current year because the turnover limit has not crossed the threshold
Then it
limit,
will become exempt.
then it will become exempt. It will not be taxable under RCM. If it is exempt, then it is
RCM will not
RCM
apply.
will not
So
apply.
RCM does not apply to any service which is not liable to GST, which is exempt under GST. Once a service or good is not exempt under GST, it is liable to GST. Then we come to the RCM.
Who is liable to pay tax?
Who is liable to? Because liability to pay tax only arises when the service or goods is liable to GST. Though the exemption list or reverse charge provisions relating to goods or exemption relating to goods is not in your syllabus at intermediate level, but just for the reference, even if it is a good or it is a service, it should be first of all liable to GST. Then we will see the RCM entry.
Yes.
Hope that answers your query. And in fact, Tanu is asking when the next quiz will be held. Next quiz, Tanu, will be held at the end of the next topic. So in next class, we will be starting with time of supply. Once time of supply is over, then, or maybe in time of supply, if time permits, we might take that quiz, but we will inform you that whether we will be taking the quiz in next class. Whatever concept of time of supply we will cover in 2 sessions of time of supply. After that, I hope the quiz will be held. So topic wise, we are trying to take the quiz. Okay.
So the last question of the day.
Last question of the day, which will decide GST Titan of the day also.
So the last question is, which of the following services are exempt from GST? Option A, services to a foreign diplomatic mission located in India. B, services by an organizer to any person in respect of a business exhibition held in India. C, services by way of a transfer of a going concern. And D, services provided by RBI. So this is the last question. It will decide the winner of the day.
So let us see how you perform in this particular question. Less than a minute left for this question. 22 students have marked their answers. What about others? And at the end, we'll read the entire leaderboard for you so that we can know the exact situation after full 10 questions. So time is up. So now let us see the leaderboard first, then we will see this question.
Yes. Payal
So
is the leader of the
GST
day.
Titan
GST.
for the day is Payal Gorai.
Then we have Prem Kumar, rank 2. Then Banipreet Kaur, rank 4. Soumya, rank 5 is Jayendra Pokle. 6th Viplav, 7th Asta Sethi, 8th is Tej Chauhan, 9th is Ishan Bish, 10th is Pranav, 11th Harshpreet Kaur, 12th Shalini Arun, 13th Bhavya, 14 Elmer, 15 Anand Dhruti, 16 Priya, 17 Rihanna, 18 Anubhav Malik, 19 Pavan Kumar, 20th is Tanu Vishwakarma, and 11th is Neeraj, 12th, 22, 21 is Neeraj, 22 is Janvi, 23 Nisha Kumari Singh, 24 Razvi, 25 Then Mozil P, 26 Sanju, 27 is Subhashi Grover, 28 Razvi Roy, 29 is Tanu Vishwakarma, and it is very good that you have participated even though you are on the
Anywhere you are there on this
yes,
leaderboard, that's
even though
not
you are
matter.
at the top from the
Participation
bottom.
is what matters.
Yes, participation is
Actually.
important.
And in this question also, so at least 10 students have marked the correct answer, but that means this has also confused.
Yeah, a lot of you. So let's go to this question again. We have 4 options. Option A, here it says which of the following services are exempt from GST, and only option B, services exempt from GST. Right, so services to a foreign diplomatic mission located in India. This is taxable. Why it is taxable? It is taxable because entry 59 provides exemption only to services provided by a foreign diplomatic mission. So in case of exemptions, you have to be very careful why the services are provided by or it is to who is the recipient and who is the provider. Then option C, services by way of transfer of a going concern. This service, which of the following services are exempt from GST? This service is basically exempt from GST by entry 2. Then services provided by RBI. This is not exempt from GST because there is no specific exemption provided to services provided by RBI.
Earlier, there used to be an exemption actually.
Yeah, that has been
Now
withdrawn.
it was withdrawn subsequently, so now it is not exempt.
Option B, services by an organizer to any person in respect of a business exhibition held in India. It is also taxable because business exhibition held outside India, that is exempt by entry 52. So only services by way of a transfer of a going concern is exempt by entry 2. So here we
come to an end of our GST Titan quiz. GST Titan is Payal. GST Titan for the day today is Payal Gurai. And we request all of you to share your feedback, how you are finding these quizzes, whether you are able to understand the concept and any contribution it is making to your studies, and how you are finding the classes. We want the feedback for the classes also. So we want all of you to fill the feedback form so that you can give your feedback on the classes, as well as you can suggest us the ways to improve these classes. So if you feel that you want some other support from the Board of Studies in your studies, and you want that this should be in some changes or some suggestions you have for incorporating in the live virtual classes, we request all of you to suggest or to share those suggestions with us, and how you are finding the already uh, you know started efforts.
Ishan is saying, ma'am, could you repeat the entry for option C?
Okay.
See entry number 2. You may refer please entry 2. Entry 2 says services by way of transfer of a going concern as a whole or an independent part thereof. It is specifically exempt.
It is a specific exemption entry which provides us.
Next chapter will be handled. It is by in-house. We shall take the next class.
I would be taking that class, time of supply for you, and we'll try to take the quiz also at the end. One of the queries which Astha is having is in training or coaching in recreational activities to art and culture by an individual. Here, charitable entities is not there, Astha. So that particular, in fact, earlier when this entry 80 was introduced in the GST law in 2017, there used to be a confusion whether this charitable entities word is with all three or it is only with sports. So afterwards, I think in 2022, this entry was revised and this confusion went away. And that is why this now we are very sure that only in case of sports, recreational or coaching provided in recreational coaching or training, which is provided in sports activities, only that is to be provided by a charitable entity, then exemption will be available. In case of the other two, that is art and culture, in that case, it can be provided by anyone for getting the exemption. And Payal is saying share the WhatsApp group link. For that, we need to get our technical
That shall
person.
be shared in the next class.
Yeah, we'll try to share it in the next class, and if possible, then we can share it today also. But okay, we'll try to, or maybe in next class we'll share that, because today I think we don't have that link with us handy right now. Maybe in the chat, if you scroll down earlier, this link might have been shared with you. You can check that. Okay. So with this, Asta has again one query. Then individual includes registered entities. Individual, yes, Asta, individual depends how, in which sense you are saying it is being covered. Individual can include the registered entities also. Any individual can also be a registered person under GST. That is there. So if any exemption entry is there for individuals, then it can get registered. Otherwise, only if it specifically mentions that such an exemption is available for unregistered entities or for registered entities per se, then that particular rider will be applicable. Otherwise, individual can be registered or unregistered. So with this, we come to an end of this session. Already we have exceeded by 30 minutes to take this quiz. And thank you so much for your participation in the quiz, for your attendance in the class, and taking advantage of our live virtual classes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.